But do you want to just get started? I don't know if you wanted to finish eating first.
Mm. Mm. Let's do it.
Okay. Cool, because I started recording right before I asked you that.
Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast, everyone. It is currently unnamed, but I guess we'll start by introducing ourselves.
Yeah.
I am Albert Thomas. I guess I'm technically your host because we'll be switching off.
You're the host with the most, as they say.
But we have some co-hosts, one of which is actually here. Co-hosts plural, but just take my word for it.
Yeah.
Our co-host here today is Larkin. He's currently eating a burrito? A sandwich? Yes.
It's a Douglaston sandwich from Douglaston, New York.
Nice.
It's just a turkey sandwich, bro.
Uh-huh.
But it's pretty good. It's pretty good, to be fair.
Nice.
Anyway, yeah.
But yeah, I just wanted to start off with, and hopefully this goes well. I guess we'll start off with maybe some intros. Obviously, the where we're from is the same for both of us, but we'll figure it out.
I'd be curious to see like let's say 20 people watch this, right?
Yeah.
Like, what percent of them don't know who we are? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Probably like one or two, right? It's like,
That is true. Well, it depends on where we post it, because we haven't really talked about that.
Yeah. This is going straight to Facebook Live, right?
Facebook Live. I haven't touched Facebook in so long. Apparently, Facebook's actually pretty good. I don't know.
I don't have a Facebook.
Oh, wait! You never created one? Oh, I guess you don't have Instagram either.
Created one, but no, I've never used Facebook. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I might have created one for like a sign up or something. Anyway.
Right. Let's start with some intros here. So I guess I can go first. As you guys know, because I already said it a second ago, I'm Albert. I am from Pelham, New York, or that's at least where I was from. Now I'm in Washington State. And I have wanted to create a podcast for quite some time. I've been thinking about it for a while, and I decided, you know what? I got nothing else to do. I just moved to a new place. Might as well use this as an opportunity to kind of keep in touch with people. So that's kind of where my brain was at for that. For some background, I guess we're both just out of college. Well, I'm just out of college. You're a year out of college, I guess, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. It's masters.
Yep. So we're both pretty recent grads, working full-time jobs like adults now. And yeah, we're just starting out our lives, I guess.
It feels like that, yeah.
Yeah. That was a terrible introduction to who I was, but it's okay. We'll just keep going.
We're rolling with it.
Yeah.
I mean, you basically covered all my life. I'm just a graduate and I'm working now, guys.
Your entire life, you just graduated from college. That's everything.
That's my function in society. No. But Albert and I grew up in Pelham, literally from kindergarten to senior year of high school, which is crazy, actually.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I don't have any other friends that go back that far.
Dario. You have Dario, right? Because you knew Dario before me.
Sure, but I wasn't really friends with Dario until I don't know, third grade or something.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
You know what I mean?
I thought you guys knew each other in preschool. Or is that false?
Yeah. No. We went to the same preschool, but
okay.
But yeah. He wasn't my friend until third or fourth grade.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. I just thought you guys were always friends.
Yeah. No, we never hung out. Yeah.
Gotcha.
No. So yeah, we definitely go back the farthest for sure.
Yeah. This makes a lot of sense to people that are listening. They're like, who is Dario?
So much. Dude,
I don't know who this person is.
Dude, we'll bring him in. We'll bring him in for an episode.
Yeah, totally.
But
I guess my next question, again, all of these questions were geared around you and Alex meeting each other, but that's kind of thrown off a bit.
It'll happen.
But we'll just go down the list and see what happens. My next question was going to be what do you like to do? Which is super vague, but again, this was very clearly meant to be icebreaker type of question, but I guess we could talk about maybe our hobbies, each of us, and
That's
see
true.
like
Yeah.
what we're interested in, so people have like more context about like I guess who we are as people and stuff, beyond the fact that we just graduated college.
I think
Um,
we have some interesting like hobbies, interesting like diverse hobbies as well, right?
that is true.
Um, and for example, I play a lot of chess. Chess has been like a big part of my life like since
Hmm.
high school, basically. Um, I play every week. Oh, I should clarify. So I work in NYC at the Google office, and so every week they have a chess club that meets on Tuesdays. And so after work, I'll go to this chess club and we'll play for like, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours or whatever. And it's like a great socializing opportunity and all that, right? But you get to play like some really competitive chess. People are super sweaty. They really want to win. But at the end, sometimes you go to dinner with them or whatever. And it's very chill. And like I love that like atmosphere, especially in New York. There's like Washington Square Park as well, and all these other places, the Marshall Chess Club. So like there are tons of opportunities to like go to tournaments and compete, and also meet people. So keeps things somewhat social, and I don't know. That's one. That's one. Dude, there's so many hobbies, but yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
we can bounce it
I
back and
mean,
forth.
you also got basketball now as well. I hear,
True, dude.
obviously.
True. Every Wednesday, well, not every Wednesday. Sometimes people chicken out, but every
Hmm.
Wednesday I'm prepared
Nice,
to
nice.
play basketball with my coworkers. After work, we go down to one of the local courts that's
Hmm.
sort of by the water near downtown Manhattan. Not really downtown. It's more like west side Manhattan. But anyway,
Gotcha.
yeah, go down to one of the courts. It's near the water, and then
Get
we
destroyed
play.
by high schoolers.
Dude, sometimes okay, look, sometimes we play against each other and it's fine and
Uh
it's
huh.
reasonable. I'm trash, but it's fine. But sometimes, dude, not even high school, middle schoolers, bro, will come in and be like, "Yo, you guys want a 4v4? Represent,
That
let's go."
that's really
And we're
funny.
and we're like,
That's really funny.
how can we lose to them? We have like an average of like 5 or 6 inches in all these guys, like
Uh
my boys,
huh.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like even like our shortest guy is taller than the tallest
Hmm.
guy, and we get smoked. Like we're playing like half court, and
Uh
they
huh.
always land the 3-pointer like
Gotcha.
so consistently. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying to guard them. I'm huge compared to these guys, and they shoot it right over my head, and it's crazy. They're so
That's
good.
really
But yeah,
funny.
that's also been my only form of exercise recently, which is
Uh
pretty
huh.
bad. So I gotta find like a now it's becoming winter,
Right.
so gotta find a new angle.
I mean, you
There
could
isn't really
find
an
an
indoor.
indoor court somewhere.
Yeah, there's indoor courts. I think mostly you have to pay for them. There might be like a
Oh
tournament or
yeah,
something.
probably a mentorship or not a mentorship,
Yeah,
a membership. That's the correct
yeah.
word.
But like most of the momentum of like getting your coworkers to play basketball after work, 'cause everyone's stressed out, so there's like de-stressing, or whatever. And it's also
Right.
very convenient, so
Hmm.
it's a very like nice, easy transition. You just walk outside, walk a couple blocks, and play some basketball. But I feel like if it was like if it was more of a commitment, we have to go to a gym and sign up or
Yeah,
whatever. Probably
that
not
makes
gonna
sense.
happen. Yeah. I don't know. It's been great. It's been great, honestly.
Hmm.
Good fun. I'm slightly better. I can land like a basket one in every 10 instead of one every 20 now. Like it's
Nice.
crazy. You know.
I
Uh,
My company has a few sports like team things. I haven't done any of them because it's been like I believe it's
let's
tennis,
go.
soccer, volleyball. I think those are the ones where like they have like a team or like a
Oh
group of
god.
people doing stuff,
Yeah.
and I think they compete like just with company leagues or like things like that. I don't know. It's just like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I don't play any of those sports. So, like maybe I would be interested in volleyball, but also that's
Hey
just
man,
a
I
commitment, you
didn't
know?
I didn't play basketball. I didn't play
Right,
basketball,
right,
and
right,
I
right.
almost chickened out. I almost chickened out the first week because,
Yeah.
frankly, I was like, I'm gonna be trash, and I was. And I got a little flack for that, but
Yeah.
I think in general, just people are just happy for somebody to show up. Like,
That's true. I just
yeah.
honestly, I'm just like I don't want to go out. I haven't left my room since I think Tuesday. Okay, I've stepped outside to pick up my McDonald's from Uber, but like that's it. I went
Let's
out,
go,
but today
buggers.
this morning I opened my sliding door to my balcony and just stood there to get some actual sun rays because it had
Get
been a
some
few
air,
days.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I've kept all my doors closed or my windows closed because a cockroach appeared like a week ago
Oh,
at
yikes, bro.
at my window, and I'm like, I don't want
No,
that.
no, no, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I guess let's go back to, I guess, what I like to do, right? I guess the main thing I've been doing recently, since I don't have any instruments here, because I also haven't bought a piano just like you,
Yeah.
I have been drawing a bit more, although it's been very slow coming. Working on a still life of a skull that's been shattered with like a hammer because it was just a broken skull that came in a box. Like when I shipped all my stuff
Yeah,
here,
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
got shattered. So I just like laid it out as a still
Ooh,
life.
that's sick.
I will say, since I haven't done a still life in like 3 years, my perspective
Yeah.
is off for some things, but I think it's overall okay. Like it's fine. It's been fun just doing it randomly, but there have also been like a lot of days where I'm just like, I'll do that later, and I've walked past it
Yeah.
like so many times. So
It happens.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping to finish it very, very soon because I do actually want to have a nice centerpiece on my dining table, and it's just been this for like a month and a half. So, but yeah, that's one thing that I've been somewhat consistently been doing, at least a couple times a week.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Let's go. So awkward. I don't know. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah, that's what I was saying though. Like, we have very different things.
Yeah.
Like I'm not much of an artist. Like, I really like going to like art museums, for
Mm-hmm.
example. Like I really enjoy the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New
Mm-hmm.
York City.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like even just the paintings, like really fantastic. Like
Nice.
especially like the more like modern period, they draw like landscapes and stuff. I love that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Never got much into art, actually, like into actually producing art.
I
I don't
have
know. I don't
quick
know where the disconnect there is, but
question
yeah,
though.
yeah, yeah.
Did you start going there after you started working in the city, or did you used to go before that?
I went a few times. Like I went in high school for sure.
Oh, okay.
High school. There were a couple times we went with friends in high school, and then because you can, it's a pay what you want sort of thing.
Right.
So you know,
I'm always
5
like,
bucks.
can I just not pay anything? I want
Not
to go
pay.
in. I want to
Dude,
go in.
so many people do that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I give them like 5%. I give them like
Yeah,
5%.
I never actually do that because
But
when they ask, I'm just like, I guess I will.
no,
I mean,
it's a great,
it's a
it's a
good
great
thing to
service.
do. Yeah, it's a good thing to
Yeah,
do,
yeah, yeah.
especially now that we're functioning members of society. We
Especially
probably
now that, yeah,
should.
that we
Yeah,
actually have a paycheck. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That helps. That
Um,
helps.
but yeah, I do enjoy looking at art at times, but I haven't done it very, very often. And also, I've always thought, especially when I was younger, I was like, oh, if I'm gonna do this thing, I'd want to go with people. But I'm like, when I go there, I just want to stare at a piece of artwork for a long time. And that's just
Yeah,
not
yeah.
indicative of being around other people because you're also at the whim of like, oh, maybe they get bored after
Yeah.
a while. So,
There's always like if you're in a group of 4 or 5, there's always that one person who's just like speeding through the whole
hmm,
exhibit.
yeah,
And of course, the rest of the people want to catch up. It takes like some willpower to be like, no, I'm gonna stand my ground and just,
right.
observe what I want to observe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Museum visits with a group of people are tough. I think with like 1 or 2 other people, it's very nice though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah,
We'll have to do it next time I'm in town.
yeah. True, true. Yo, yeah. Are you coming?
Uh,
Anytime
thanks
this break?
Thanksgiving. I'll be
Thanksgiving.
around,
Okay.
and then same
Okay.
thing in December as well. I'll be around for a
Nice.
little
Nice.
bit,
Okay.
although I will be
Yeah.
working the same hours, so weekends would probably be the best way to go about it.
I mean, sure.
Yeah.
Wait, wait. So you're traveling, New York, visit family, whatever. But then you're
Hmm.
also gonna be working.
Yeah.
You don't want to say. Well, I mean, okay. I'll tell you. Well, I'll tell you what I'm doing. So, I mean, I think we have like, I don't know. I'm sure we have Christmas off and like New Year's
Hmm.
off,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
couple other days interspersed along with the weekends.
Hmm.
So like I'm taking like 5 days off, and that'll give a nice block from, I don't know, late December to
Right.
early January. Yeah, yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. I
Also, I've been
don't.
taking many days off, so yeah.
Yeah, I don't have that many days off because we just accrue, I think
Mm,
3.5 or 3.3 hours each pay period.
mm,
Um, and so by that time, I'll probably have like 3 days worth of vacation.
mm.
Um,
Oh, never mind.
yeah, so each trip, I'm only taking like 1 day off for when I'm flying back.
Okay.
And at the very least, I'll be able to maybe do breakfast with some people. Although that won't be you, obviously.
That will not be me. That will not be me. I mean, I'll be around in Pelham a bit, to be honest. So
okay. Well, you're not working remotely though, right? You're still working in office, so I mean, on weekends I'll be free all day anyway. So that
but also
matter.
I'll just be taking time off, right?
Oh, right.
At the end of the year, I'm just yeah.
You're chillaxing a bit.
I'm relaxing. I haven't taken any time off. I took like 1 day off, I think last April or something. Like, I'm basically sitting on a whole year of vacation at this point. So
nice.
Yeah, they tell you to use it. So
right.
I should at least use some of it. It would be a little awkward if I used like I don't know, like 4 weeks of vacation. If I used like half a week,
right,
a year, that would be a little strange.
Yeah. So that would be kind of sad. That'd be like you should use your vacation.
Yeah, probably not mentally healthy either.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I think overall I get like a week of vacation in a year. Yeah, and then first 40 hours of overtime can also be transferred to vacation as well. Yeah.
Okay, so that's 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks, and then
if you do overtime.
Yes, but it's
bro, that's rough.
Yeah, I mean, but I like the job so far, so it's all good. Okay. Next question is, why are you here? What made you want to do a podcast?
That's a great question because, frankly, hold on. Let's back it up.
Yeah.
So, I did a podcast, but like, it was really scuffed with like some of our high school friends. Like, I'm talking about. We're not gonna link it anywhere.
We're not gonna link it anywhere. You don't want me to say the name?
So many years ago. I don't know what we said at that time, but we were in high school and we said some crazy shit back then. Yeah. I might be liable for something. Anyway, I haven't watched them in a long time, but yeah.
Were there only like 5 episodes of that or something? It wasn't that many, right?
Only 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
I think only 3 or 4. Don't remember precisely the number, but yeah, it was a wild time, but it was also a lot of fun because you get on camera and you do the exact same thing that you normally do.
Right.
Like if you were just like at a diner or something, like talking to your friends, right?
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. And then obviously it's like a record. If I want to go back in 20 years and see what I was like in high school and what sort of degenerate shit I was saying at the time, like it's there. So yeah, in that sense it was really cool. I think I love the like the record aspect of it, and that we could go back in years time and look at it. Also, like you said before, but it's a great way to like intentionally get people to reach out and like talk and just, like, have a more long form conversation without like having to plan a dinner, which requires you to be in person or whatever. You know.
Yeah.
It's difficult. So yeah, in that sense, it's really good too. It just seems to serve a lot of like functions for things that are maybe sometimes lacking, like records of times in here and now, especially intellectual records, like we have pictures perhaps, but those don't tell anything close.
We never take pictures ever.
We also never take pictures, but you get in a general sense, right?
Right.
For any person,
Yeah.
Oftentimes, you'll have a record of pictures they've taken, but unless you have like a journal or something like this in video form where you can see someone talking,
right,
you don't really have a record of how they are and how they interact with others and how you yourself were thinking at the time. So
yeah, that makes sense.
In that sense, it's kind of filling like a big void. And also it's just great to see other people and just talk to them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's checking off a lot of great boxes for me. Hopefully we can keep it going for more than the 3 or 4 episodes that the other one did. But yeah.
That is the plan. Yeah, I really get that. Yeah, the main thing for me was also like since I've moved, and I'm not the only one that has moved, right? And also because I do not play video games particularly often, I was like, I need a reason/way to talk to the people that I want to talk to. And so this was like kind of a great way to do that, where it's like, mostly an excuse to just talk to my friends and have a good time. And I guess technically you don't need an excuse, but I also like the record aspect of things. And I'm fairly comfortable on camera myself at this point, just because of my channel. So yeah, it's
YouTube.com/Rainbird.
that's not my YouTube channel at all.
What is it? Wait,
it's just my name. It's Albert Thomas.
It's just Albert Thomas.
Yeah.
This is a bit of a side tangent. Oh, I'm gonna look it up. If we search Albert Thomas, are you the first one to come up?
I don't think so, because
I remember a long time ago you were buried down there, but but you've blown up, man. You're big now. I mean, relatively speaking.
If you
no, you're the first one to come up, bro. You're the first one to come up.
Oh, am I?
Dude, you're huge. Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
I'm not.
Wait, are you subscribed or?
I know I'm not signed in. This is.
Okay. That's surprising. Okay, I wasn't aware of that. That's actually very, very cool. What's funny though is like I don't know. It's interesting because I'm like I feel like on the YouTube channel, I need to do a bit of a shift for some things because I feel like I've done a lot of reactions stuff. So I kind of just want to shift to other forms of media. So that's also one of the things that I'm like, yeah, a podcast would just be cool because it's like, it's very laid back. And I'll just like prepare some questions or whatever for my friends, and it'll kind of leave room for maybe some questions that I'm not used to asking them, but also since we're not editing anything, it's like less back end work as well. So all around, I'm just like, this is one of the a nice thing that's going to be just fun to do, and ultimately like it's not going to be super like stressful or like annoying to do each week. That's also why I'm doing live streams right now instead of regular videos for the moment.
Right. Yeah. Also, I mean, something you said before, like about having an excuse to talk to people. Like, I mean, you say you don't need one, but like honestly, maybe need is too strong a word, but it feels like sometimes you do, like whereas people are so busy these days, they are on different parts of the country or the planet even.
Right.
And it feels without a specific like date in mind or specific plans, it feels kind of very difficult to connect with people that you want to talk to, and they honestly they're probably interested in you as well. It's just life is hard, and priorities get in the way and whatnot. So I think like having something like scheduled and regimented, like it helps bring people together who may have an interest in connecting with one another, but for whatever shape or form just can't make it happen. It's like one of those things where something can be just a little bit too far down the priority list at all times, and so it never gets addressed because it never bumps up to one of those priority slots, and so you can go years without doing something that you want to do just because it's too far down your list. So with the podcast, we're bringing it up there. We're bringing it up there. We're attacking people for their opinions. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that.
We're not talking some controversial topics. I mean,
no, not yet, bro. Not yet. Just wait. Next time we have a guest, I'm gonna bring a huge list of controversial opinions.
Oh my gosh.
And we can play it off like ridiculous opinions, right?
Okay.
And we can play it off like we completely agree, the whole time, and or I'll present the opinion, and you can be like nodding along, like, yes, that's very reasonable, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, and the other guest can just be like, what the hell, man, like, what did I get myself into? Like, Larkin, bro, I didn't know you were like this. Like,
just get clipped right after that and be oh no.
Completely gaslight them, like. Oh man, no. But back to my main point. Like, I think it's I don't know. It serves a function for people that I think will be enjoyable for a lot of people.
Right.
Enjoyable in the moment, but it can oftentimes be difficult to make that effort. And so like leading up to it, it can be like, oh man, well, it's gonna take a lot of time, and I have those things to do. But once you're there, you realize what you were missing, the value in the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I still have to figure out how to release these on like audio platforms.
Oh, right, like Spotify and whatnot.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah.
YouTube's going to be easy because I'll just upload it.
Right.
That's not going to be an issue.
Jeez, YouTube
Um,
is the best way. You can stare at our faces for like hours on end. I know that's what everybody is interested in.
yeah, exactly.
Oh
Dude,
my God.
you just looked like a neck for a second because you're all the way back
Yeah,
there.
I'm using my laptop camera, which is actually, I mean, it's not bad. I thought it
Yeah.
was a bit worse actually. But it's not as good as yours. You're looking crispy quality.
Oh
Um,
yeah, what is it called? I forget what the video quality is. It's higher than 1080p, I think.
1440 maybe?
It might be
I don't know.
1440. Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
certain. I bought this like a few months ago when I first moved here, so
Yeah.
because
I mean, it looks excellent, bro. You're
yeah,
getting all the.
it's a good quality camera. I must say I hate the fact that it autofocuses all the time. It's not because like I've had issues while live streaming where I'm just like out of focus for a while, and I'm like I don't know how to fix this. Wonderful.
Interesting, huh?
So that's one thing where I'm like I kind of wish all cameras had some type of manual like focus or like locking mechanism
Yeah.
so that it wouldn't be an issue all the time, as opposed to the constant like autofocus method that they currently have. But that's neither here nor there. Like the actual quality of the video is fantastic. Yeah.
Very good, yeah.
So it was a good purchase, but
Yeah,
um,
I've been meaning to get like some sort of webcam for a while. I
mhm.
haven't really settled on anything yet, but yeah, I guess the laptop webcam is working for now. But anyway, that's why that's why it
Yeah.
looks like I'm up to my neck because the laptop is lower. So
Oh,
I
right,
lowered
right.
I adjusted my seat so I could, be in the frame and
Do you have an extended display, or why don't you have like a laptop stand? Actually, that would probably be better.
I mean I don't know, man.
It costs like $10. You just have
Hey,
your laptop
you
elevated,
know what?
and then your camera height will be higher.
For the podcast, I can invest in a laptop stand, or huge idea, I could just get a webcam like a sane person. I don't know why I haven't done that. Like it's been on my mind for years, but
Mhm.
and they're so cheap now too. Like,
Right. I mean, my suggestion there is always, and I think this is just a general concept for when you're working or when you're creating videos in general. Update audio first and then video. Your audio is
mm,
pretty good already anyway, but
I could get
um,
like a nicer microphone as well.
yeah, I mean, but that's up to you.
But but
Whatever
yeah,
floats your boat, dude.
yeah,
I will say like the best thing is like maybe just the angle for your camera would be the only thing I would say, and a laptop stand might be fine. Like you don't need to get a new webcam if you don't want to, right? Like that's just so
yeah.
you don't like disappear when you lean back all that much, you know. Um, even my webcam's slightly like
Yeah.
lower. It's lower than eye level right now because I don't really have a spot to mount it. It's like a
Right.
weird.
Well,
Uh,
yours is perfect.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
from
it's
well,
pretty good.
I'm trying to use my hands to show, but it's below the screen. You got the
Right.
chest up, and
Yeah,
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 no, it's
yeah.
good.
It's true. Like if I put her on top of my monitor, it would be like looking down at me right now because I have pretty high
Yeah.
up monitors right now, and then I have like on top of that, if you put the camera, it would just look weird because it'd be like looking down at me essentially.
Right.
Um, yeah. Sorry to the audience. We just like went on a tangent about technology, but like
This
that's
whole
okay.
this whole this whole first episode is just gonna be massive tangents.
Right,
Like
right, right.
we're way off track. Alex isn't even here. Like,
Hmm.
I didn't prepare anything. Oh, that is the one thing we did have prepared. We need a name.
Yeah.
We need a name for the
I
podcast.
guess we're talking about it ourselves.
I guess. Dude,
Yes, I did have this later on down the line, down the list, but we can do that now. I do have some more serious or like maybe philosophical slash serious
thanks,
questions
questions.
later on.
Let's go.
But I guess we could start here. I was gonna bring that back at the end, but let me pull these up. Let's see. Okay,
Yeah.
so I have a couple, right?
Okay.
My one thing that I wanted to ask you guys, which I'll just ask you and go with what you say right now, essentially, um,
Me,
is
the audience.
right. Because you guys aren't here each week, I wanted to know whether or not you wanted my name to be in the title. And the reason I asked this was because like if you guys were here each
No,
week,
yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't think about that at all.
Right.
But like I was wondering because one of them is like just chatting, and I'm like, by itself, or it could be like
flat.
just chatting with Albert Thomas, which makes it sound a bit more official, a little bit to me.
It does,
but like there are a couple other ones where I'm like, if you just add that, I don't know if that's better or worse, but I wanted to bring that up because I was curious about your thoughts. The other ones were Real Talk, Let's Talk, and Catching Up, and I'm like, none of these are particularly fantastic.
Definitely falling a little flat, but yeah. Okay, but to address your original point, I'm fine with your name being the title. I mean, honestly, I feel like you're running the show. You're gonna be here every week, or however often it happens, you'll be here every episode, right? And
unless I choose to disappear next week forever,
right? that was ominous, bro. But yeah. So I mean, you do it, and you're doing the production and everything. So I think that's totally fair. But dude, names are tough. Dude, we gotta have something a little zesty, Zesty. Not saying it has to be anything crazy or anything. Maybe zesty is not the right word. Zesty is too intense. But like something like rolls off the tongue, right? A little like, and something has like some sort of like unique like tone to it. That sort of like sticks in the person's brain, like just chatting is like
it's super general, right?
It's very typical phrase,
right? Right. I was originally thinking of that particular name because it's, I don't know how likely it is that people would just search for that randomly. Because just chatting's already a category in Twitch. I don't know. That's just kind of one of the things that I was thinking of, but
that's some big brain like content development like thinking like.
And also like, and again, I don't think it's particularly great as a name to begin with. So I'm not like, I don't care about any of the names currently that we have here. But my thought process was like, it should also be a name that potentially people would search for randomly. And potentially get there, but I don't think that's the most important thing. It was just something that potentially could help. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter as much since our goal is mostly just to have conversations with people and have like fun. So it doesn't matter as much, but it is something that popped up as I was thinking about it.
Right. I mean, part of me wonders, like, there's sort of this trade-off of like, okay, if we go with something a little more unique, it's more memorable. If we go with something a little more generic, it's more findable.
Right.
And to me, I mean, maybe you disagree, but I feel like the memorabilia is much memorabilia. That's not really the right phrase.
Are you talking about merchandise, or are you trying to sell shit right now?
Like the memorableness. There isn't really. There must be a good word for that, but whatever. Anyway,
the memorableness.
Yeah. But I feel like the unique quality of a name that makes it stick in someone's head, I think is a little bit more important. Like it builds like, okay, if we want to talk in like abstract marketing terms, right? It builds a brand,
right?
If we're sitting down with somebody, they bring up the podcast, they're probably more likely to remember if it has some like unique, like catchy name. And then they're more likely to come back for subsequent episodes.
Right.
Is how I feel about it.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I kind of doubt we're gonna get like, too much value out of like finding a couple random people who are looking for just chatting on Twitch and accidentally click on this video.
Right. Exactly. You're right. You're right. Yeah, that makes sense. That being said, did you have any name ideas?
Well, I mean, it was the Albcast. Seems like it got shot down real fast. So I don't know. No. Honestly, I don't know. I was trying to think about it this morning.
Right.
Its naming is extremely tough.
Yeah. I don't know.
Actually, well, I do have another question for you.
Yeah.
Kind of like what's like the vibe of the podcast? Like how do we see sort of like conversations developing over time? Like,
right.
I feel like we want to ask some deeper questions, but it also seems like the general gist is like we're just chilling, just having a good time, just putting it up in video form. So I guess the general question is, should the name be something a little bit lighter? It kind of sounds like what the vibe you're going for.
Yeah. So
You know,
so
just to
my
kind of narrow in
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
space of
So one of
5 years.
the one of the things I was thinking was a potential strength from having a podcast as opposed to just having a conversation is also the excuse to ask questions that are like maybe a bit more deeper than like the surface
Totally
level
agree.
in some
Totally
ways.
agree. Hmm.
And I was like, so yes, there would be the casual aspect of it. It's like, how have you been? Like catching up, like what's going on in your life, things like that. But I do also want to ask questions that are oriented um, like to getting to the root of who the person I'm talking to is in a manner that might not necessarily have been present if we're just having like a meal over like lunch, right? If we're just talking
Absolutely.
over
Yep.
lunch. Um, and also yeah, I just think that that's a big opportunity that I'm excited for. So yes, there will be like I do want to find a balance between the two, where it's like you're asking those deeper questions, but it's not just like a super serious like
Right. Right.
interview
Right. Right.
style moment where it's like tell me your heart's desires, tell me
Yeah.
your deepest
Yeah.
fears, tell me this, that, and the third. Like no, I still want it to be
Why
like
are you excited to be on this podcast?
right, right, right.
Why do you want to be here? What can you bring to this cast? You know.
Uh-huh. Are you bringing us fame, viewers? What is going on
What
here?
value do you serve society?
No, 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 not even that.
Yeah,
What value do you serve to us in this
to
moment?
us. That's
Okay,
true. That's
that's
true. That's
that's
true.
the real question.
We don't care. We don't
Um,
care about other people. It's about the
it's about
cast.
us. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Oh my god.
But yes,
Yeah, I
so
completely agree. Yeah.
that's the thing where it's like if you
Hmm.
have a name that's just like goofy almost, it doesn't really portray that potential. And then on the other side of things, like for example, like Lex Friedman, his podcast is just his name,
Mhm.
right? Or
The Albert Thomas experience, bro.
I believe Jordan Peterson's podcast is also just his name. There are a lot of podcasts out there. Like Impulsive is essentially just Logan Paul's name, right? It's there. A lot of them have a name in there, where and a lot of those, but at the same time though, right? Like Jordan Peterson, Lex Friedman, those are the two that just popped up that I just mentioned, right? Those are
Yeah.
very very high level like concepts, like topics a lot of the time, right? I haven't watched a lot of Lex. Or I haven't really watched a lot of Jordan's podcasts either, but I've seen him in
Yeah.
interviews and stuff, so I know vaguely where his conversations would probably go.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
but Impulsive definitely is a lot more of a like goofy show, even though that like well not maybe goofy is not the right word, but it's like they're just having fun. Like that's the main driver
Sure, sure,
behind the
sure, sure.
shows. They still ask
Yeah.
serious questions, so maybe that's something that would possibly be like the avenue or like the mood or the like something to emulate in some ways where it's like you're 90% of the time it's like having fun, but you're also asking those serious questions and being open about your answers and stuff like that. Like
Right, right, right.
I think that that might be something that I'm interested in.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have a different perspective on
No.
Lex's show because I haven't watched him as
Yeah, yeah,
much.
yeah.
I've only seen like bits and pieces of him.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I haven't watched. I don't know the other one you mentioned, or Jordan Peterson's podcast. I think I saw a couple of YouTube clips once,
Uh
maybe.
huh.
But I've been listening to a lot of Lex Friedman's podcasts, like on the train on
Mm-hmm.
when I'm commuting to work. And just for context, Lex Friedman is like a ex MIT professor. He like worked in
Yep.
AI and whatnot, right? So a very smart
Mm-hmm.
guy, but he doesn't interview just like AI people. He interviews like
Yeah.
like all sorts of people. Anyway, so what I really like about his podcast in particular is that he dives deep into the person's individual like area of expertise, and then he also somehow manages to tie it back to like general human perspective, things like life, passion, motivation, love, I don't know, like
Right.
energy, like family, like he somehow seems to manages to take like the person's unique experience, which is probably in like a technical field or something, and tie it all together.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think is almost kind of like what you're describing in a different sense, like
Yeah.
where we take the person on a surface level, you're just having fun, you're having a good time,
Mm-hmm.
and yet you also delve deeper into sort of like their passions and their interests and maybe what they think about life and sort of you
Right.
know how they rationalize the world and be I feel like the best podcasts are the ones that are able to tie both those things together, like on a surface
Hmm.
level, what do you enjoy in the day to day, is have a good conversation, and then also get to the bottom of like how do you rationalize the universe and why we're both here and
Right. Right.
you know
That makes sense.
so yeah, I don't know, somewhere in the I think we both have the same idea of like somewhere in that balance
Yeah.
of
I think
you
that
know
that's something that we'll figure out probably over time, right?
mhm.
And it's going to be a question to see if like there's a different balance between like you and me versus me and Alex, right? How that plays
Mm.
out. Is it going to feel
Yeah,
slightly
yeah.
different? I don't know. Like it's going to be something that we'll have to figure out and see if that like does that throw people off? I don't know. I don't know if
Yeah,
it
yeah,
would,
yeah.
but I think that'll be an interesting avenue to see. Maybe like with one person, like the conversations steer more in one direction, and the other, and with the other person, it steers more in another direction. Like we don't know. We'll figure that out over time, and I think that's gonna be like the I guess growing pains slash like the also the fun part, right?
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think like one thing definitely, I mean, speaking of growing pains, one thing I think I can grow on certainly is I generally would consider myself like a pretty adept at having like a very surface level conversation with the, most people. It's not
Hmm.
too difficult, but I definitely don't feel comfortable yet like asking like deep introspective questions
Right.
to like people I'm not super familiar with. So I think that's like, but I want to, it's not
Yeah.
it's not a matter
It's
of
like
I'm
how
gonna
do you build that up?
avoid
How do
this.
you do that? Right?
Exactly.
How do you make that jump?
It's not an easy conversation to have, to
Hmm.
like draw out some of like the fundamentals of how someone thinks and
Yeah.
rationalizes and what someone values. Um,
Yeah.
on a moral level, on a societal level, whatever. It's like it's a bit of an uncomfortable conversation, but I feel like if we can
Yeah.
get that formula down, that would be so sick, actually.
Yeah. And
It's
I will say I've noticed that I struggle with not having those like that's why I like having conversations with you because typically
mm,
our conversations will shift to that a lot of the time,
right,
and like sometimes it's like a lot of the time it's like what are we trying to do a lot of the times, or like what is like what sometimes what are we struggling with, like things like
mm,
that, or like just our professional lives and stuff like that. We've talked about that stuff somewhat often, and I think that's also partially because we've known each other for so long. However, that's also something that I've struggled with probably since leaving high school, where it's like, how do I just have those conversations? Because I feel like in a lot of ways, that's the meat of your
right.
relationships. Like that's what you
Hmm.
want there. And especially now that I'm in a new place, it's like I mean, I guess I'll do some small talk. Like, I guess I'll do that. And it's like nothing bad about like the people that I've met here. Like, that's not what I'm saying. It's like when you meet new people or you're talking to someone that you've never had those types of conversations with, it's very strange, weird to like kind of. It's almost like a leap of faith where you're like, okay, let me jump into this and see how you
Right.
react to it.
Yeah.
But if you haven't known someone for very long, or you may have known them for a long time, but you never even delved into that area. Like you don't know how they're gonna respond to that or how they're gonna converse with you in that field. That is definitely something. I guess it's hard. It's a difficult thing to do, but hopefully
Yeah.
this will help us bridge that gap in a lot of ways.
Hopefully, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it's very much akin to like, I don't know, like it's not quite the same thing, but it's very similar, like opening up your feelings and emotions to somebody.
Yeah.
Um, because your sort of your values, your perspective is so intricately tied to sort of uh, how you are as a person is too general.
Right.
It's very closely tied to how you feel as an emotional state, how you present yourself, what you think is valuable. I mean, these are sort of very personal
Right.
artifacts of who you are. It's like, and I'm sure you know this as an artist. Like, if you work really hard on something for a long time, there's maybe some nerves, some anxiety about presenting that to the public. How will
Right.
it be perceived? what will others think about it?
Hmm.
Will it be perceived negatively for something you put a lot of time and energy into? And so, when you were
Yeah.
talking about like people's personal values, what do they think is most important in life? And you hit them with these deep questions, and it can be difficult to respond because these are things that obviously you're asking them really really in a fundamental way. What do
Yeah.
you care about the most? And you don't want to be shit on
Yeah.
when you put those things out
Right.
in the public.
And
So
and
it
it's
can be
also
very
just a difficult question to answer, right? Because it's
true.
also like, what if you're not a very introspective person, right? Or if you've
Mm,
avoided introspection for some reason, right? Because
yeah,
that's a very difficult place to be in, where it's like sometimes you don't even want to be that vulnerable with yourself. So like having that conversation with someone else, you're like, holy shit! Like what do I do? What's happening? Why am I
right,
why am I
right.
in this situation? Why did I bring myself here? So
Yeah,
it's interesting where it's like, um, those are like the key facets of maybe who you are, at your core, and sometimes you don't even want to look at those things because, out of fear or frustration or whatever else there is. And
yeah,
so those conversations are very difficult to have. And I do think like some of the great podcasters that exist have done a fantastic job of mixing those in and getting people like in a place where they're comfortable to have those conversations. And it's hard, and it's something that we're going to have to work on, because I mean, again, our goal isn't necessarily just to create something where it's like, oh, people get to, I don't know, have like super interesting like views on the people around them or whatever. It's more like we get to have those conversations. Like we're trying to have
right.
those conversations ourselves, and we're recording them so that maybe we can look back on them at some point, or other people can
Or
gain
others
perspective.
can gain something from us
Yeah,
having like a real genuine conversation. I think there's a
right.
lot of value there, just
Yeah,
from person to person, like
yeah. And honestly, I'm okay with if the value's just, in 10 years, if we want to look back at the conversation.
yeah.
I think that
And
that's
then
fantastic.
it will still be worth it. We still had conversations
Yeah.
with friends, and we still have
Hmm.
like memories from them.
Right.
So
Yeah,
then
exactly.
it's still worth it. Yeah, and I think also prioritizing our own enjoyment and the enjoyment of whoever is a guest.
Yeah, exactly.
That will show in the quality, and other people will enjoy that in turn. So
Yeah. I think
um,
that's the most
yeah,
important part. Because if we're doing it and if our questions are more probed towards, oh, what would the viewer want to see, versus like that just seems like you
uh,
can do that, but I'm like, that's not going to be enjoyable. Like
it's
it,
not sustainable. It's not
yeah.
enjoyable,
Yeah.
and it shows.
Yeah.
It will show in the quality.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
no, I think we're both like on the same page with this. I think it
yeah.
was just great. It's just fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, if those things happen to align, fantastic. But if not, like, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
right, exactly,
Um,
yeah. So
but I did want to ask
yeah.
you another question. This is a more fun question, because
Mm,
I saw you snap about this. This was probably like over
yeah.
a week ago now.
Mm.
I see that I heard that you're watching Narcos.
Oh yes,
So
Narcos. Yeah.
I've never watched the show before, but I was curious about this because, I mean, back in high school,
Right.
you didn't watch anything.
No, I did
Um,
not. No.
but in the recent like maybe 2 years or so, I've noticed you've taken interest in a couple of different
A
shows.
little bit. A little
Um,
bit.
so what I was interested in is wondering like, what are your thoughts on Narcos so far, but also, more generally, like what's going on there? What
Yeah,
uh,
I mean,
what made you shift?
okay, I wouldn't say shift is a strong word. I mean, basically, yeah, I never watched any TV in high school
Hmm.
or middle school or anything. I just didn't really enjoy TV. I sort of like as a kid, I read a lot of books, and then when I was a teenager, I kind of jumped straight from books to video games, if that's a jump. And they're like I feel like a lot of kids grew up also watching TV, and I just didn't watch much TV. And like
Yeah.
my digital experience was primarily on the computer,
Hmm.
and the physical television as a device never really came into my life. Um, so yeah, I don't know. Recently, I've noticed that there are a few select really high quality shows that I feel like are somewhat well enough attuned to my interests that I would really enjoy them and get a lot out of it. Um, and so I've been specifically targeting those shows
Okay.
to watch. So specifically, there are two comes to mind. Narcos is one of them, which I've
Hmm.
been watching right now, and then the other one was Mr. Robot. I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Robot.
I've watched a few
Um,
episodes of it.
okay,
The
okay,
issue though with me is when I watch TV, it ends up being a binge, and then I get sick of it.
right,
I get sick of the
right,
show.
right.
Very
Hmm.
like I get sick of shows very quickly if I've watched too much of it at once.
Sure, sure.
Um, and yeah, so that's been my experience. I don't recall how much of Mr. Robot I watched, but it wasn't a lot. It definitely wasn't a lot.
Right, right, right.
Um,
Yeah, just if you don't know what Mr. Robot is, I would say it's a sci-fi show, but it takes place in like 2015 New York City, and the premise is that it follows a group of hackers who try to hack the U.S. banking system and remove all debt from the planet. That's like the basic premise, and it gets way deeper, way more psychologically intense. I think it's a really incredible show. It's a really well done, and it ties like a bunch of different ideas together really brilliantly. And
mhm.
also the premise is really cool. That just because it almost in some ways it feels like it could happen. The right series of hackers, they get access to the right material and somehow create some sort of virus that wipes out banking information in the U.S. Obviously, financial information is maybe some of the most secure data on the planet. Technological data on the planet, but you know the idea is sort of in the air. Anyway, it's a very cool premise, very awesome show. So I watched the whole. I think Mr. Robo was 3 seasons. I think. Anyway, so I watched
Okay.
that whole thing like maybe about 6 months ago.
Hmm.
I love the New York City setting. I love like the hacker sort of vibe, which is really cool. They did all the tech really, really well. Like even like the code they were writing, you could tell it was like legitimate, and
Okay.
you could really follow along with the sequence. So it's
It
very, very
wasn't.
cool.
It wasn't just a hacking scene. 500 command prompts appear.
Right, exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. A bunch of green text flies past the
Uh
screen at
huh.
5,000 miles an hour. No, it was really intelligently done, from a
Okay.
technical perspective. And like the story was really sick. I thought actually ironically, like I started watching it sort of out of like a interest in like the tech and sort of
Hmm.
like that sort of story and how they were going to tell that because I heard it was very accurate and it was. But interestingly, I would recommend it the most for its like psychological thriller
Okay.
aspect, especially in the later seasons. It gets crazy. The main character Elliot is a drug addict and whatnot, and that comes with a whole slew of issues. But he also has a very dark past, and you know,
Hmm.
and somehow they make all these elements fused together into like an absolutely brilliant story. Probably maybe the best show I've ever watched. Haven't watched many shows, so small sample size. But anyway, back to
Gotcha.
Narcos. Um, Narcos takes place in Colombia, and I am a fourth Colombian. My grandmother on my mother's side grew up in, I think near Bogota, but I don't remember exactly. But she grew up in Colombia, and then immigrated to the U.S. when she was a kid.
Oh, okay. You said one fourth
Yeah,
Colombian. I was like, what's a fourth Colombian?
a fourth Colombia.
I was
No,
like,
no, 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 no. One quarter. Yeah.
uh-huh. Yeah,
hmm
yeah,
hmm Anyway, yeah. So Colombian family, and she grew up in Colombia. So, I have like some Colombian roots. I have some interest in
yeah.
Colombia. I
Right.
definitely want to visit Colombia
Hmm.
one day. It's on my bucket list for sure.
Nice.
I've been learning some Spanish. Anyway,
I mean,
my Spanish is
you've done it for a few
is
years now,
well in
right?
school, yeah, but I didn't care too much in school.
Isn't
This is
that
more out
also
of
your
personal interest.
Duolingo language, right?
Oh yeah, oh
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I've been learning Spanish. I learned Spanish in high school. We took a couple Spanish classes
Hmm.
together, but that was just for I was doing it for the grade,
Right.
like get out there. It was like, actually one of those
I
courses
didn't
I
get
liked
the
least.
grades.
Yeah, I mean, dude, Spanish was one of my hardest courses. Like, I really had to like work to memorize the stupid verbs and whatnot.
Yeah.
It is funny because in high school, I think being forced to learn Spanish
Hmm.
didn't really enjoy it,
Yeah.
and then 2.5 years later ish into college.
Hmm.
Obviously, I'm not taking any language classes, and I was happy about that until I started thinking, wait a second, I kind of actually want to learn Spanish. Maybe I want to visit the countries of my ancestors and
Yeah.
this sort of thing. Um, and so yeah, I started Duolingo in I think sophomore year of college, I believe. Yeah, and now my Duolingo streak is like over 1,200 days.
Wow, that's dope.
So that's over 3 years, coming across like 3.3 years or something.
Mm-hmm.
So really awesome. I've been enjoying it a lot. I've been reading Harry Potter in Spanish as well. So my Spanish has gotten to a level where I can read I'm doing a half a page of Harry Potter a night.
Mm-hmm.
It takes me about maybe five to. Nah, I shouldn't be too harsh on myself. It takes me about 5 minutes to read half a page.
Okay.
I would say. If I recognize all the vocabulary, I can do it in a minute or two, but I have to look up usually like a few words a page.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Nice.
but it's coming along. Anyway, so I've been putting a lot of effort into the Spanish. But back to Narcos.
Mm-hmm.
That originally one of the main interests is that it takes place in Colombia, and so I could get some sort of connection there. A lot of the dialogue is in Spanish with English subtitles.
Mm-hmm.
Because it follows sort of the Colombian drug trafficking problems in the 70s, 80s, 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And so it follows like the Drug Enforcement Agency of the US, and so there are quite a few English speakers, but the majority of it is in Spanish. And so that's really interesting because I have English subtitles, but I'm trying to understand the Spanish at the same time, and I understand some of the basic phrases, but it's really awesome. I love like the Colombian culture, like it's great. It makes me want to visit the country, and the story is fantastic. And the story is fantastic, and it's all based on real events, following
Okay.
like Pablo Escobar and the whole Colombian cocaine drug cartels.
Right.
Yeah, it's just awesome. It's a thriller. It takes place in Colombia. I mean, what's not to like? Like I don't know. I've been enjoying that quite a lot. But that's only like the second show I've really dived deeply into in the past couple of years. Again,
Gotcha.
very intentional with what I watch, and I watch like an episode a night.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'll be the last thing I do before I wind down for bed. Is I'll like
Nice.
plot out an hour, watch an episode, and then I hit the stack.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Nice. Yeah,
yeah.
that's really cool. I don't know, it depends. Sometimes when I'm watching TV, I'll be able to watch an episode and be fine, but I feel like more often than not, it's like, oh, I watched this. What's next? What do I do now? uh,
Yeah,
so,
it's dangerous, bro. I was feeling that near the end of Mr. Robot.
hmm
I just cannot stop hyping up the show. It was so good.
yeah,
But like,
yeah,
it's definitely a thriller, and they leave you on a hook. So
yeah,
I would always want to watch one more, but then I'm thinking, okay, then I'm gonna get like 6.5 hours of sleep, and I'm gonna
right.
feel like shit the next day. Yeah. Like I think it's more about preventing the start of the cycle.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I
You're
mean, I
right.
don't have to tell you this, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what's been useful sometimes though is like recently, I've just been having something play in the background while I'm drawing or something. That way, I'm not
Oh, that's nice.
just
Yeah,
sitting there. I started watching Jackie Chan Adventures yesterday, which I haven't watched in probably 5, 6 years, which is great.
What is that? I'm familiar.
Oh,
I
it
mean, I know
is.
Jackie Chan,
Yeah,
but
yeah. It's an
yeah.
early 2000s cartoon where Jackie Chan, I don't think he's the actual voice actor for Jackie Chan Adventures, which is kind of funny, which I didn't realize. I think I found this out years later, but he is an archaeologist, right? He's not, well, he's also a martial artist because he just is. I don't know. And he like lives at his uncle's tea shop. And in episode one, his cousin Jade, or his niece rather, his niece Jade, comes to stay with him for a year from China. And what ends up happening is Jackie has some connections to some government spy people, like one of them who's like a friend of his, and his archaeology expedition ends up coinciding with the people that his friend who's a spy is going after, right? Like a huge criminal organization or
Sure,
whatever.
sure.
And then, so at that point, he ends up working alongside his friend. However, the items that they're looking for are magic talismans of the 12 zodiac
Okay.
animals, right? Um, his spy friend doesn't believe that they're magic, but they are magic. So each talisman has, in season one, each talisman has a different ability, and it's really fun because his like niece Jade is always trying to tag along, and causes mischief here and there. Their uncle has some chi-based magical prowess. which gets furthered later on down the line, like after season one. But he has like some basic knowledge of like different types of magic and things like that, which is also pretty cool. It's a very, very fun story. And according to Jackie Chan, the reason that he was super happy about like the cartoon itself is because he was able, like, they're able to do things that he wouldn't be able to do in real life, like jumping out of planes and like obviously all the magic stuff as well. But it's just a super fun show from my childhood. So the fact that I'm like rewatching that is just fun.
Yeah. Getting the all the nostalgia from
exactly.
childhood. Yeah. It's a good time. And drawing at the same time. Yeah, no, that's nice. Yeah. I think it's like one thing. Like there are certain, like, I don't know, there's certain hobbies where which lend themselves better to like music or like listening to a podcast or something. Like, which I think are really enjoyable. Obviously, like something like exercise, you can do this and that sort of thing. But
I think exercise, cooking, art, a lot of those things, like you can do something else like in the periphery alongside it, which is nice. Sometimes I'll also listen to podcasts while I draw too instead.
Right, yeah.
If I don't do that, if I don't do another task, then I'll just sit and stare at the screen for like hours on end. So it's a nice way to actually do something as well. So cooking and art have been like recently something that's been useful for that. Although I'd say more cooking than art, but I think over the last week or two, been doing some more art, which is nice. But yeah, that is true. Like some of those more auditory things, like you can also do alongside with other stuff, which is very, very helpful.
It is nice, especially I think, not to sound like a boomer, but in this day and age, with it's so easy to have your attention span sapped to virtually nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I found this particularly when I'm working, like if I'm doing some programming work for hours on end, it's very, very difficult to focus. And I've tried to do music. I've even tried to listen to podcasts, but especially anything with language, anything with some sort of conversation happening is far too distracting. Music, if the coding is relatively straightforward and mundane, you can do it. But even then, I find it somewhat distracting. Like it's more difficult to focus.
Yeah.
So I haven't really found a good solution other than to just buckle up and, fight through the ADD-ness of
I mean,
I feel like it's just
we pretend.
Kind of.
Oh, sorry, I interrupted you, but like.
Oh no, I was just gonna say it's a plague, like.
Yeah. I was gonna say we pretend like multitasking is actually a thing, but it's not. It's really not. Unless it's something that is a simple task, then you're gonna be splitting your brain and you're just gonna be like scattered all over the place most of the time. And I would say, like, I've even noticed when I'm like, if I'm doing work and I'm listening to music or something, the music does help me focus, but I stop paying attention to the music. It's just there. I'm not listening to the music really. It's more like it is a method for me to focus in on what I'm doing. So, and similarly, if I'm like cooking sometimes, like I'll realize like 5 songs have passed by. I don't know what songs I've been listening to at all. And it's always like something is your primary focus. Even when, like, if I'm drawing, right? Drawing should be my primary focus. If I notice that the show is taking more of my attention, I should just stop drawing because it's gonna make my whatever I'm doing is gonna not be as good. I will say the visual aspect I think makes it even more difficult because you're using 2 things as opposed to just like your hearing. You're also using your eyes, and so more of your attention is being split. But it really depends on how difficult the task is that you're working on.
I completely agree. Actually, like, I was even say, like, it's for the. I see this situation a lot where I think people maybe underestimate or deny like the effect that something like music can have on their performance in, say, some certain mental task. And so that can be detrimental, but also it goes the other way as well, where I think sometimes, if certain emotions are involved, like something like music can really calm you down.
Yeah.
It can relax you. And in that sense, it's almost like a weird, like, performance enhancer. Like, Like definitely like if you play like hype music while you're running or something, maybe you can run for a little bit longer. You're a bit
Right.
distracted. You don't quite pay too much attention to the pain in your body. Um, uh, so it's a weird situation where it's like, yes, there are some circumstances where it's legitimately helpful and it lets you go for longer. It helps your attention span. And at the same time, I think I see so often people in denial, where like, yeah, man, I need my music
Yeah.
to work or whatever. And
Hmm.
well, maybe there's something else going on.
Right.
Maybe our brains are just slowly being polluted by the internet hellscape.
Uh-huh.
That's slowly draining away our last bits of attention span. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think in particular, like I don't know how you feel about this, but like I think in particular, like I know a lot of people. I don't use TikTok. I know
Hmm.
a lot of people do, and frankly, I can see how it's the
It's
next evolution
so
beyond YouTube,
addictive.
right?
It's
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
addictive. I don't think it'll ever replace YouTube though. I think YouTube is where you would go
No,
for more
yeah,
useful, like meaningful things, or like more longer form entertainment. But I think TikTok has become a bridge for that. So it's like a fast way to discover things. But the biggest issue with TikTok that I have is how addictive it is because you watch 3 seconds of one video, watch 3 seconds of the next one, and you just keep going. Next thing you know, 2 hours have gone by. And that's why I deleted it from my phone. Still have it on my
nice.
iPad right now, but I don't use that nearly as much for TikTok. So maybe it's like once or twice a week for like 10 minutes. It's not the same as what I was doing before. So I'm very happy that it's not there. I might still delete it from my iPad because I'm like I probably don't need this in my life.
Yeah,
I will say though, like TikTok is there. There are some positives, right? It's a great place for artists and musicians to get discovered.
true.
It has been. A lot of people have become more like have become professional and actually gotten huge hits off of those platforms because of how their algorithm works because it's all based off of what you're interested in. And so there are some positives there, but at the same time, I do think that there's a detrimental aspect of it because of just how addictive it is for that same reason, right? If you're only showing people what they want and you're going to keep showing them what they want, or what they're engaging with, well, then like yes, on a company perspective that's fantastic, right? But on an individual perspective, like that is horrible. um
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel basically the same way. Like I know I've definitely struggled like I don't know if YouTube addiction maybe is too strong a word, but
Mhm.
I struggled in the past with like trying to limit myself from going on YouTube. And it's something about YouTube is that whenever I try to make an argument to myself that I'm spending too much time on YouTube, um, I'm thinking, well, I just watched several videos and they were all very informative and I learned quite a lot, and so I actually got
Right.
something of tangible value out of it.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think that's where for me, there's a disconnect between that and TikTok.
Yeah.
Or something for these short form, it seems like it's not impossible to find things of value, and
Yeah.
maybe like what you're talking about with artists, like maybe you find an artist and that leads you towards like their more long form work, and
Yeah.
that can create some sort of value there. But in general, I feel like the main argument I would make to myself for continuing to use YouTube in any sort of like manner is that I find videos that change my perspective or give me some new information or something,
Mhm.
and those tend to be the more long form videos, which are very informative.
Yeah. I
Same
get
thing
that.
just can't be said for this short form content, which is also
Yeah.
on YouTube now as well, with the YouTube
Yes,
Shorts.
there are shorts.
Um,
Shorts are everywhere, right? There are YouTube Shorts, then
yeah,
Reels on Instagram. I don't know if there's probably something exactly the same for Facebook because they own
uh,
Instagram now. And
yeah,
then obviously Snapchat has always kind of been like that, where it's short form. But you get the idea. Like everything has short form content now. I think short form, like again, in general it's super addictive, but I think that it is also a powerful tool for people to, if you're driving towards something that's more long form, like it's definitely present there, right? There are some positives, but I see a lot of negatives there too.
yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm again, the boomer talk is coming in, but I'm concerned about like sort of how our attention spans are being damaged
Oh, definitely.
in the long term, like especially about younger kids who I imagine whose brains are a little bit more malleable, a little bit more vulnerable. Like
Yeah,
I don't know if
I don't understand why children have cell phones.
right, it's like these iPad babies, right? That grow up instead of
Yeah.
playing games with their parents, board games or whatever, they
Yeah.
are on the iPad like 18 hours a day.
Or like using their imagination.
Yeah. That actually might be one of the biggest issues is that
Yeah.
when you're constantly being presented with a stream of information, I feel this now. Um, you don't actively think about things. You're
Yeah.
given a lot of information, and that can be valuable, right? I
Yeah.
mean, having more information readily available to you in your brain is useful, but you don't actually practice the process of like a critical thinking if
Yeah.
as soon as you're given some bit of information or entertainment or whatever it is, you're immediately presented with the next one before you're given the ability to think.
Well,
That
you're
could be very
constantly
problematic.
having content of some shape or form shoveled down your mouth, right?
Right, right.
And because of that, it's like you don't need to think. You just need to consume.
You
Um,
just need to consume exactly. You never pause and like ponder on what you've been shown or given.
yeah.
You're just sent to the next thing, and that I think is the most dangerous. I've been noticing this in myself, like in my own sort of like
Hmm.
psychology. Like um, I've stopped listening to music on my commute.
Hmm.
And sometimes I'll listen to podcasts, but I've stopped listening to music on my commute because I noticed that it was actually very beneficial for me psychologically, like to avoid some anxiety and these sort of feelings. To at the end of the day, like when I'm commuting, when I'm coming home, for that hour or so,
Yeah.
um, to just sit in it, to sort of like not sit. I'm walking to and from the train and whatnot, but
Right.
to stop and think,
Yeah.
and think about the day or think about whatever's on my mind and just sort of process things.
Hmm.
I felt like when I was listening to music, well, I wasn't processing,
Right.
and because I wasn't processing, I would go from work where I'm constantly engaged to I'm engaged with some music, which sort of numbs the brain for a little while, and then
Hmm.
and then when I get home, I'm engaged with whatever I was doing to entertain myself for that evening, right?
Right.
And the cycle would repeat, and there's no time in the like if you fill every moment of downtime in the day with more content, which is like what your phone is doing, what your TikTok is doing, whatever,
Yeah.
um, and you never give yourself time to process. I mean, you develop this backlog of information, and I really think it just contributes to anxiety,
Yeah.
honestly.
And
I don't know.
I think it
Yeah.
also contributes to you don't actually learn anything because
Hmm.
you may be continually shoveling like content down your throat, but you're not actually retaining it a lot of the time too, right? Because if you're just going from one thing to the next to
True.
the next to the next, there's no compounding of information. You're not asking the questions that you would have had from whatever you're watching, and that includes not just like informational based content, but it also includes like even if it's just TV shows or music or anything, right? If you just continuously listen to the next thing to the next thing to the next thing, there's no analysis or thought that goes behind those things. So, for example, binging of TV shows, right? That is I think that's something that most people can relate to now. But the question is, once that show's over, after those 8, 12, maybe 20 hours of content that you just watched, you didn't once think about what you were watching, right? So,
Yep.
for example, I guess this is my boomer talk. Back in the day, you watched an episode of television, and then you would think about that episode of television for a week,
Right. Right.
right?
Or you discuss it with the people you watched it with.
Yeah.
It would stay in the back of your mind during school or work or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it would be things like the anticipation, curiosity, things like that. That would drive your thought for that particular topic, and so it wasn't just you passively consuming something. You were also taking part in the process because you didn't know what was going to happen next. Similarly, for maybe another example could probably be like a coding tutorial, right, on YouTube. You just passively copy over whatever code you're watching and you create the thing. Good, you hit the mark. but you didn't ask any questions while you were watching it. You didn't ask any questions after you finished watching it. And now you're on to the next coding tutorial thinking you learned something, but you haven't. You're just like, if they took away the video and took away the script that you have on your desktop, you wouldn't know what to do next.
Right.
Like you don't know what you just did. And so that's a big issue that we have now, where I mean, even in college, where it's like open note exams, right? Those are a thing, or even virtual exams, stuff like that, where it's like it's very easy to not even necessarily have to recall the information, and the only way that recollection happens is if you remove the information to begin with and think about it. And this is something that I've struggled with a lot, and it's something that I still struggle with, where it's like, oh, if I have my reference sheet or if I have my notes, I'll know what to do. But it's like, that means you don't know what to do. And it's I think it's a more commonplace. I think it's a lot more commonplace now. Yeah.
Yeah, I completely. Yeah, I mean, I think there's this concept in psychology I think called incubation, but it's basically precisely what we're talking about. Where, particularly this refers to sleep, but just in a more general sense, like your brain needs time to process and reorder and strengthen its neural connections. And if it is constantly provided with a flood of new information and never gets the chance to do that, all of its neural connections will be weak. And we
That's
don't appreciate that. It is, and we don't appreciate that. Like, it's one of the reasons why sleep is so important, because
Right.
it strengthens sort of the neural connectivity in the brain.
What did you say that was called? Incubation?
I believe it's called incubation. Let me Google that just to make sure. But yeah, I think by incubation.
That's interesting.
Psychology. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. In psychology, incubation refers to the unconscious processing of problems when they are set aside for a period of time that may lead to insights. I remember I came across this idea in some sort of math thread, I think, on Reddit, but there were a lot of discussions in math fields about, why do some mathematicians suddenly, after working on problems for years, suddenly come up with insights? Or why is it that when you work on a tough homework problem for hours on end, you can't solve it, you go to sleep, and you wake up the next morning, suddenly the problem is instantly solved, and you see what you're missing. And
Right.
it seems sort of abstract and magical in some sense, like at some point there's just some click.
Yeah. The
And
idea just comes to you like that. Yeah.
and it kind of is. It kind of is magical in a sense, but also it makes a lot of sense if you consider that, well, maybe the answer is here and the question is here, and they're in two different points of your brain, and all you need is your brain needs time to bridge the road.
Right.
And well, if you never give that time because you don't get enough sleep and you're constantly barraging yourself with TikToks while you're walking to your classroom, like I mean, it's no wonder your brain doesn't get the chance to do that. So yeah, incubation, and it's really a powerful idea, and really interesting. But yeah, so yeah, I've been taking more purposeful walks, I say purposeful, more thoughts with or walks with free thought, I should say.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think everyone in the world has probably had several dozen moments, at the very least, that they could just think of, where it's like you've been staring at a problem, and you could even just think of this in the context of school, but just in life in general, and you've been staring at it, you've repeated the problem 1,000 times, you've tried to go through every possible computation or idea of a path forward, and you're just like, there's no solution. And then you even just take a breath and step away for a few hours, or you go to sleep, or you take a shower, or you eat a meal, without continuing to stare at that problem or think about that problem. You get distracted, you come back, you look at it, and you're like, I knew the answer all along.
And you really did. It was all in there. It's just, it's like a bridge. You had two islands which had the what they needed for one another, but the bridge just wasn't built yet. So yeah. I don't know. It's very cool. It really just shows how powerful like our brains are,
Hmm.
that when we see things that we think are impossible, and they really are very possible, we just need time. And sometimes it's difficult for humans to perceive how simply something like time can provide like a tangible difference. We think usually I feel like we're taught to believe that you know how would you say it, like if you do if you don't do any work, you don't get any results. I think
Yeah.
is a very typical idea, and that's almost always true for physical labor, surely,
Right.
but um, for the brain, that's almost the opposite is sometimes the case. So,
Hmm.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Food
That
for
makes
thought.
sense.
It's an interesting concept, but
I guess to build off of it, it kind of ties into one of the questions that I had written down, where it's like, so when you're like looking at a problem or something like that, right? One of the big things is like you've become so emotionally invested that you're not willing to take a step back anymore. So my question is, how much do you think like our actions are a slave to our emotions versus how much of your actions are based off of knowing what you actually need to get done or what you need to do? Um, it's a very, very deep question, but I just thought I'd throw it out
yeah,
there.
it kind of it sort of sounds like a another way of rephrasing sort of like how much does what role does willpower play in our success, right? You think,
Right.
if we're asking the question of, you know, what it what proportion um of our actions are determined by our emotions versus what we need to get done. Well,
Yeah.
kind of seems like, well, okay, so maybe there are two opposing forces here.
Hmm.
One is what we believe we should get done from a logical perspective is
Right.
what we want to do.
Right.
And so to me, that sounds like the sort of the metric there is willpower.
Hmm.
Um, and honestly, I don't know. It's tough to say. I'm not much of a huge believer in like the raw ability of willpower to get something done.
Well, I don't know
Um,
if it's willpower
but
is the highest thing. I'd say it's more discipline and
yeah,
habits. Because willpower
sure,
willpower
yeah,
waxes and wanes, right? I mean,
right.
we've all felt that where it's like, oh,
Hmm.
you get that supercharge of energy, like you're just feeling great, and then you could do your work for like 10 minutes and then you're like, oh, this is actually hard, right? So willpower definitely waxes and wanes. Um I think discipline and emotion are kind of like at odds a lot of the time because discipline is doing whatever you need to do despite your emotions in my mind, and that's something that I guess is a skill that should be developed, which is I think it's very difficult to develop, and I definitely am no master at that. It's so
Yeah,
easy. It's so easy to just be like, oh, I don't feel like doing this, so I'm not going to do it until I absolutely have to because I'm going to, I think it's the emotional side of things to me has always been, um, let's do as little as possible until the threat of not doing it is so large and insurmountable that you have to do it. Um,
procrastination.
yes, yes, and procrastination to me is completely emotionally driven, and
Oh,
I think that's
absolutely,
true.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I guess the follow-up question is that there, to what we say discipline and emotion are sort of or you said discipline and emotion are sort of oppositely
right.
are sort of contrasting forces, we say.
Yeah.
Um, but I almost see it the opposite way, where um, sort of the amount of discipline you have, and this is kind of my
Mm-hmm.
theory. I said I'm not sure how much I buy into willpower. This is kind of
Mm-hmm.
buying into sort of some sort of general theory. But I kind of have this idea of like, maybe in some sense, the amount of discipline and the amount of willpower, or however you want to
Quantify it.
label it,
Yeah.
um, is it is in sense sort of its own emotion, where basically just the amount of discipline you have to do something is how much you can trick yourself into believing it's going to release some sort of positive outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know.
Well,
It's a difficult thing to say, like how are humans motivated just in a
right.
general sense. I feel like I have sort of like this sort of like fundamental theorem of motivation, if you
Hmm.
will, where basically like we only ever do things because we want to do them, and we want to do them because we believe they will bring about a positive emotion. And so
Yeah.
you somehow pull some mental gymnastics to
Hmm.
trick your brain into doing something that you really don't want to do, because either you believe it will bring out something good, or you believe the opposition is worse. And so that comes back to procrastination, right? Because
That is interesting.
obviously when you finally get forced to do it, your brain, I think all your brain is doing is weighing the calculus of, well, if I don't do this, I'm gonna feel like shit. That's no
Right.
good, right? That feels like doomsday if
Hmm.
like the assignment's due tomorrow and you actually don't do it. Um, and if
Right.
I do it, well, I'm gonna feel terribly as well, but maybe not to the same extent. And
Yeah.
so I
What's
think
the bigger
like
apocalypse to handle?
that's kind of my opinion on on at least how my brain goes.
Yeah.
Is it does it does sort of some emotional arithmetic and
Right.
comes up with that outcome. I don't
That's
know if that really
interesting.
follows true, because obviously the traditional way to look at it is, well, you have something you want to do, but you're you have discipline which fights against that, or willpower. I think they're
Right.
kind of similar. It's kind of similar idea, right? But whatever you want to call it, right? Um, I don't know. Maybe they're
Hmm.
just a function. Maybe we don't give our emotions enough credit. Like
Yeah.
perhaps our emotions are able to, in the heat of the moment, we're able to understand that, you know certain irrational actions are going to lead to terrible outcomes, and then
Right.
we're motivate ourselves to get it done. I don't know.
That's interesting because I always viewed them as opposing forces, and I guess maybe that's because um, oh,
Hmm.
what is the Asian philosophy where you have the circle with like the black side and the white side, and then with the dots on them?
Ooh, at the
Um,
risk of sounding really uneducated,
is
is that
it
Taoism?
Taoism? That's what I was thinking.
Taoism?
Um,
Uh,
I could be
or
wrong.
Taoism?
Yeah,
Oh
it's
no.
Taoism or Taoism, I think.
I believe it is Taoism. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
that idea of like chaos and order, good and evil, almost like that
Mm,
dichotomy in so many things like that's been something that I've used to view a lot of
yeah.
avenues, and I think that that's also maybe something that I've viewed within like our own brains, where it's like we have the feeling, the emotion, which in a lot of sense is like the chaotic element, and then we have our logic side of ourselves. And I don't actually know if this is fully true, but it's like the cultural idea where it's like you have your logic brain, you have your creative your emotional brain or whatever, like
Left
left
brain,
and
right
right.
brain,
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing. Yeah, yeah,
um
yeah.
I don't know how true that is scientifically. There's probably some scientific truth to it, but I don't actually know. Um,
Right, right.
but that's how I've always viewed it, where it's like these two opposing forces. But it's interesting that you said that they're almost the same thing, where it's like the logic brain is almost driven by the emotions, where the outcomes are all emotional based. And like the path forward is only used when almost the emotional outcomes are worth it in a sense, and like the almost the computation is within the emotional sphere as well, which honestly I think that might be accurate now that I think about it, because um it's like, oh, on some sense, like the baseline, right? You do things because you want to be able to um, be safe while you sleep. You want to be able to eat food. You want to be able to like have just life, liberty, prosperity, whatever, right? Like you want those
Yeah.
basic tenets of existence, right? That exist out there, and so that's the baseline, right? Nowadays, arguably, right, you pretty much have those things generally speaking, if you live like there's some baseline that you can figure out as to just get by and have those things, right?
Life,
And
liberty, and prosperity. Yeah, but
right,
perhaps the happiness is the missing
right,
element for a lot of
right.
people. Yeah.
And so then the question is, are you willing to do? in some ways the work, or have like find the pathway in which you can find those more joyous moments, or at least to prevent the more terrible outcomes from destroying you immediately. And so maybe those are the main drivers. And yeah, you're right, those are all emotional based, right?
Yeah.
In some sense, like there are people that there are those responsibilities that some people might have that you might argue are simply based off of like logic, where it's like they do it because they're supposed to do it for some reason. But even then, there's probably something else underlying there. So that's interesting. And that being said, though, that doesn't necessarily destroy the initial belief that I had, because even in the Taoist sphere, right, there's always a piece of the other within it, right?
True.
So I guess it does make sense, because it's almost that unity within the dichotomy in a sense. So that's very interesting that you brought that up, because I haven't thought of it that way in a very long time. So
Right. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, and maybe part of it is just kind of like it's just different social constructs, different words
Yeah.
for kind of the same idea, But yeah, I don't know. Motivation is just such a like fascinating idea. I remember I was watching the Lex Friedman podcast
Hmm.
again, or listening, I suppose, and he was doing an interview with. This is a great episode. Obviously, I enjoyed this with the world champion, the world chess champion, right?
Hmm.
And so of course I'm enjoying this episode. But anyway, one of the things that the world champ said was that like I mean, obviously, to become the world champion in chess, you have to work very hard at the game for a very long time, right? But so Lex asked him like, well, how do you stay motivated after so many years? I think the world champion is like 30, I think, or 29 or something,
Hmm.
and he's like, well, I don't really think about it as being motivated or hardworking or whatever. He's just like, well, I just want to do this, and it's just it brings me joy, it brings me passion, whatever,
Right.
and I feel that that's sort of like a common advice we hear from a lot of people who are very very successful for a very not for a short amount of time, but for a very extended amount of time. They're very
Hmm.
consistently successful over a long period of time. Is that, well, in some sense, motivation, or like, I don't know, discipline is almost the wrong word. It's like this just kind of is the natural way. They're doing what brings them happiness, and
Right.
that happens to align in a societal sense from an outsider looking in. That happens to align with our ideas of like discipline, or I don't know, motivation or whatever.
Productivity,
But
hustle.
productivity, what hustle? Oh God, I hate that word. But anyway, yeah, like whatever it is, right? It aligns with that idea,
Right.
but in reality, I mean, it just seems like maybe they're just doing what they enjoy, like
Yeah.
in the same way that we relax by watching a good TV show, or whatever, I don't know, going like listening to a podcast, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Same way that we relax, they're quote unquote relaxing 24 hours a day somehow.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, I don't know, but yeah, I thought that was extremely enlightening, that the best chess player on the planet, in something, in like a very competitive discipline, right?
Right.
You have hundreds of millions of people trying to improve this game, right?
Hmm.
Is just some guy who, just for whatever reason, I mean, obviously very talented, but uh, just enjoys it, and that's the number one reason he attributes. He says he never works on chess if he isn't feeling it,
Hmm.
which is just shocking. Like,
Right.
well, you must be feeling it all the time then, if you're going
Right.
to be number one for an extended period of time. The guy's been like number one for 10 years, so
Yeah. I mean, that
you
that
know
makes sense too, because like if he, and this is purely based off of me not knowing anything about this person, right?
yeah,
If he is that good, right, and he's saying that he only plays chess, right, like when he feels like it, but he's also saying that he loves to do that, right? It makes sense, because well, there's probably many more days that he is spending time doing it than not, right? And
yeah,
perhaps once in a blue moon, he's just like, you know what, I need a break. I'm not going to do this today. However, that's probably not as common as the opposite, right? He's probably still doing chess a lot, right? And it's just a matter of also like I guess part of it is also like you're weighing the potential enjoyment as well, right? Because maybe for him watching television for an hour isn't going to give him that same joy unless he's just not feeling chess that day, right? But maybe more times than not, well, the instant gratification of watching a TV show isn't going to be nearly as long-term joyful as me spending this hour playing chess, or even if he's not doing that, maybe spending time with family, or things like that, right? There are other things that are involved there, but I think that for a lot of us, we've kind of maybe been conditioned, or maybe, well, conditioned could be the right word, over maybe the last 20 or so years, right? To chase a more instant level of gratification without the realization of the potential joy, or maybe even higher levels, or more longevity based joy, that's based around more hard work oriented things, or like things that are more difficult in the moment. Like, for example, right, watching TV versus practicing your instrument, right?
Mhm.
Um, or playing a sport or something like that, right? Both of those things could end up bringing some level of joy, although in some cases, say you're just starting out with an instrument, it's going to be a lot of frustration at first, right?
Yeah, for
Um,
real.
Whereas if you just watch TV, the joy is there, right?
It's
The
there. It's easy. It's
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So that is something that's interesting, where it's like, the instant gratification, which is a very commonplace term, but it's also very accurate, right? Instant gratification
Absolutely. Absolutely.
is so prevalent now, where it's very difficult to justify uh, the circuits in your brain that are geared towards hard work to even be used, right? Because it's like you already get this baseline of joy, and say you start off that circuit, you immediately feel like pain, suffering, regret. You feel stupid because you don't
Right.
know what you're doing, especially if
Yeah.
it's something new, and you're like, why do this when I could just shift back and do what I was
Yeah.
doing? Um, yeah.
Yeah. I'm curious how much failure and sort of the feeling of stupidity you're talking about,
Hmm.
like how much does that play a role in when people make decisions to, let's use practice an instrument as an example, but to pursue any hobby which has some sort of long-term gratification, but also at the same time doesn't provide as much instant gratification and requires a little bit of work, a little bit of prowess, a little bit of technique.
Hmm.
Because I feel like when I get, let's say I work on a coding project
Yeah.
for X amount of time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
At the start, it feels very difficult.
Hmm.
It feels very overwhelming because there are so many little details to work out, and I haven't worked out any of them. I don't really know what my approach is going to be. It feels very difficult, and I sort of have to, again, coming out of this back to like this willpower idea. I kind of have
Hmm.
to force myself to start
Yeah.
because doing something else like just playing another video game, is
Hmm.
so much easier. Watching YouTube videos so much easier.
Yeah.
However, I do also find like after working on this project for say a week,
Hmm.
maybe it's simply because of habit, or maybe perhaps it's because the task has suddenly become easier that in some sense, I would rather work on this project than do the same things I wanted to do a week ago, like play a video game or I don't know, whatever other example I was using.
Yeah. That.
Watch a YouTube video, and it's like okay, maybe part of it's habit. I'm sure part of it's habit.
Hmm.
It's just easy to do the same thing, and somehow our brains are very well encoded to work
Well,
with habits.
I believe habits
But
take about a month to actually solidify. So I don't think
okay,
that's
so maybe
immediately what's
not.
happening.
Although of course,
Perhaps after you've done it several times, sure, right?
right, right, right,
So that could still be a part of it for you if you've done that a lot, right?
yeah,
However, I do think that is a driving force for a lot of people to not do anything, where it's like that initial difficulty is all you
hmm,
see, right? You don't
right,
see
yeah,
past it, and it's so, like that initial period is the difficulty in all, for everyone, right? And it's almost like you start with like the level of difficulty is going super high and then it plateaus, right? At least for a while. And then you hit another roadblock and it goes back to being exponential again, right? However, in that, let's just go with the initial curve there, right? Where it's just like super difficult, and then it just plateaus, right? It's no longer super difficult anymore. Or at least it's not you're not as insanely like freaked out about the challenges that are popping up here and there because you've already tackled several of them. I think that is the biggest piece that everyone is faced with, where it's like you start and then you feel like a failure, or you feel like you're putting yourself through hell, and to what end almost.
What end?
Because you've already seen, I feel like everyone has already seen the potential of what you do when you just watch television or listen to music, or even like when you're consuming, right? Everyone's seen that already. And so they're like, well, I know that this baseline level of joy is higher than what I'm feeling right now. So let's just shift back to that, right? Let's just do that instead of this. And so that is the challenge, right? I think that's the challenge that everyone faces every single day, where it is getting over that initial hurdle, right? Because you wake up in the morning and you if you're starting work in the morning, right? You look at your list of challenges and you're like, why am I doing this? Why do I have to do this, right?
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, obviously the people at the top might not feel that as often anymore because they've done it so many times that they're like, I understand the purpose of this now. I can just work through it and it'll be fine in an hour. Like that's the habit building. That's all of that stuff. But for most people, I would say the biggest challenge is that starting point no longer feels as worth it as it should be. And so it's very difficult to deal with. Hello, Alex.
Hello?
Hey. Either my alarm didn't go off or I slept right through it. Next thing I knew, it was like 2:30.
Uh-huh. When did you go to sleep?
It was bad. Last night was bad. It was bad last night, like 7 a.m.
Oof.
Did you forget?
No, I had an alarm set. I was tired, bro. I guess. I was going to bed at 7. I was just, you know.
I mean, I would expect so because you would have only gotten like 6 hours of sleep max.
Yeah.
Do you have your video camera?
I could use my laptop. Where is my laptop?
Did you just wake up, by the way, like 10 minutes ago?
Yeah, whenever I sent that text to you, that's why I was just waking up.
Oh, like 20 minutes ago. Okay, I didn't notice.
Yeah, no, where's my laptop's right here.
Well, welcome. You're just
welcome.
We're only an hour and 40 minutes deep, so you know, we're just
not bad at all.
Just ramping up here.
Hi,
I'm Larkin, by the way. Nice to meet
Alex,
you.
nice to meet you.
Oh my god.
Dang, we got super deep.
Yeah, we were going strong.
Yeah.
We're going real strong. Still don't have a podcast name
though.
Exactly. The breath of fresh air.
Are you on your phone right now? Is that why you?
I'm on my desktop, but my desktop doesn't have a webcam, so I have to use the laptop.
Dude, I'm in the exact same situation.
Wait, why don't you guys have webcams for your desktops? That's.
I mean, the desktop is for gaming. The laptop is for working.
True. Preach.
I keep it separate.
Oh, I guess I stream off my desktop. That makes sense. And I also have a separate work laptop, so I don't do any work on there. So.
All right, there we go.
If we do enough of these, I'll be motivated.
Hello.
Hi.
Ooh, Hi. You got a very nice setup behind you. Are those all pops?
Before, Albert?
Isn't that the shelving unit that you put up a few years ago or something, or is that somewhere else?
Albert, I'll give you the tour. Here, this is over this wall behind me. This is all my amiibo collection. See, I got.
Oh, gotcha.
Smash Brothers ones there. I got Mario up there.
Nice.
Got Zelda up here. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I have this other shelf. I have more Amiibo 1Ds up here too.
Oh, okay, yeah. I've seen that, like a picture of that when I think you put that up.
This is the newest shelving I have. This is like maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah. Okay.
It was like December 2020.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like my big Christmas thing was that.
Yeah.
I like the SpongeBob and Patrick above your bed.
Oh yeah, the wall clings. Yeah,
Those
have been there. I don't even know how long now. I got those. I think a friend gave me those at some point in high school. And I stuck them up there, and I just never took them off.
Nice. Is that a like, Dark Knight poster too?
Oh, that? Yeah. It's in French.
Oh, it's in French. Okay.
You speak French?
No.
Oh, well.
I got it when the movie came out, like 2000, like when it came out, like 2009.
I don't know. It was like 15 years ago or something.
I got it as a kid for Christmas when it came out, and maybe only like a year or two ago. Here, let me get back up again here. Maybe only like a year or two ago.
I apologize to all the audio only people, by the way, if you exist out there. But
yeah,
true. All the Spotify viewers.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed up there, but I noticed like a year or two ago. You see, like it has all the names, and it says at Morgan Freeman. And Morgan Freeman.
Right.
And I was like,
okay.
Why does it say at? And then I looked on the bottom here, and it says, Dark Knight. Go to darkknightlefilm.com.
That's funny.
Le Film.
Oh, man.
It's in French.
Oh,
my headphones came out. Why did headphones come out?
Okay. So since you're just arriving, I guess we can go back and do a bit of an introduction for yourself so that people know who you are. We did this earlier, but yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
We're just starting. We're just starting.
Yeah. Yeah. We're just starting. So I guess
what do you want me to say about myself?
What's your name? Where are you from? And we could start from there. Maybe just tell a few things about yourself. That's it.
Alex from Staten Island, New York.
About the trash can.
My game. That's not true at all.
Holy. Wow, dude. I'll get my swing, bro. Holy shit. Right.
Immediately, he wants you to introduce yourself, and the first thing he does is try and roast me.
I had to. You said Staten Island. I had to.
I'm from New York City.
There we go.
There we go.
Yeah.
From New York City, and I don't know. I exist. I play video games, and I have awful sleep schedules, as proven by this, that I'm an hour and 40 minutes late.
That is true. I tried calling you, dude. You didn't.
I didn't have my phone with me. I just had my alarm set. My phone was
really
on my
funny.
Desk. I didn't hear it go off. I was out cold, bro. Gone.
That's really funny. I guess also.
When I saw all your missed calls and your texts, I was like, "Oh no!
Oh shit!
What time is it? What time is it?" I looked, it was like 2:30. I was like, "No."
Yeah, because this morning when I sent out that text, I saw Larkin messaged back, and I was like, "Is Alex awake?" Like that was the first thought that came in my mind. I was like,
"I'm glad we're all the same boat." You do the same. You thought immediately the same thing. Like it's 11. It's an AM.
Yeah.
Like double digit AM. Is Alex awake? No, if it's like double digit AM, I'm probably only been asleep a couple hours.
Right. And then as it got closer, I think Larkin messaged back something else as well, or whatever reason. It was like closer to the time. And
right.
And I was like, okay. Or actually no, never mind. That didn't happen at all.
Wait,
no, it did. My times are off on my phone because it's 3 hours behind, so it was all in the AM, and I was like, "Wait, no, that's completely wrong."
West Coast, you left the good old East Coast.
But I have greenery, which is pretty nice. I really like that.
That is nice.
Yeah,
that is nice. Yeah, gotta respect that.
Alex,
wait, so
go ahead.
Ask, how do you guys know each other?
College. Yeah.
College.
Yeah.
Stony Brook.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
We're both did Stony Brook College and Stony Brook University, rather, not college. And Larkin, or not Larkin. Getting confused now.
Bro, come on. Keep it together. Who's this host, man? Oh my god.
Alex did
co-host.
Alex did the same thing as me for 5 years for the masters, but he did CS as opposed to CEO like me.
Yo, CS, let's go.
Let's go CS.
God. But yeah, we were in the same suite. What, twice? 2 years, or was that 1 year? It wasn't even a full year, was it? When we were
freshman year, we were not in the same suite. You guys were on the floor
yeah,
above
yeah.
us.
Did you move in with us sophomore year or junior year?
No, sophomore year we had the 2 rooms across the hallway from each other. Remember, I was
right.
I was with Chris, Dennis,
right.
Then like me and and then you guys were across the hallway.
Yeah.
And then junior year we were all together, but then COVID happened, so that ended shortly.
We had like 6 months.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah.
We were gone.
But yeah, we've known each other for what, 5 years? A little over 5 years now. Yeah.
Okay, 6.
Yeah. Just over 5 years now, because I guess the newest semester started. So, yeah, we've known each other for a bit. Just so you know, Larkin and I have known each other pretty much our whole lives.
Let's see, 17 years maybe.
Wow.
Because we met in kindergarten, so we would have been 5.
Yeah.
Or you would have been 4 still, right?
Yeah, to start, I was probably 4.
Yeah, to start, yeah. So yeah, we've known each other.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it was.
It's pretty close to majority of our lives, like right on the line there, just about.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. But yeah, we've known each other forever. Yeah. It's really funny. Now I'm just like, do I ask you these straight questions and just get you caught up to what we're doing? What do you like to do, Alex? What are your hobbies? What are your interests? Maybe just mention 1 or 2 things.
Well, I do a lot of gaming. That's pretty much all I do at this point. The job hunt's not going too great. I have not really heard back from people or anything. So I just wake up 2 p.m., turn on the computer, game till 6 a.m., go to sleep. I don't know what else have I been doing now. I don't know. I've been trying to watch some more TV shows because people are like, you gotta watch this, and I'm like, no, I'm lazy. But I'm trying to do that. Like, I've been watching The Boys, like a little bit through season 3 on that, like 3 episodes in. So I'm almost caught up on that. What else? Obviously, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, top tier series of all time. Top tier. I love JoJo.
I watched.
Are you also a JoJo's watcher?
I watched like 3 episodes.
Oh shit! Dude, I've never watched.
I've watched like 3 episodes, and then
I'm a very big JoJo's enjoyer.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, after like 3 episodes, I was like, I don't really care. And then I read some more. I read part of the comic or the manga a little bit, and then
forced you to read it.
Yeah, but I only read like 10 chapters or something like that. Not even.
You gotta read it again, Albert. It's good, I'm telling you.
I know, I am paying for Viz, so I probably should at some point. But it's only $2 a month. It's $2 a month, so I'm like, do I just cancel this? I don't know. I guess that's also kind of how they get you, right? You're not watching it, but like, it's $2.
It's only $2. There's no reason to unsubscribe. You never know when I'll get back into it, but then it's been like 6 months. And you just been paying every month and have no idea.
Yeah.
What else am I into? Well, obviously, I got the Star Wars there. Star Wars, another top tier series of mine. Love Star Wars. I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, like, Marvel, I like to do, but especially the second half of Phase 4 definitely make my interest wane a little bit. I'm not gonna lie. I feel like it's been getting pretty weak.
Are you saying you don't like She-Hulk? I haven't watched it yet, so.
No, I did not like it at all. I think it might be the worst Marvel thing yet, honestly.
I will say I did watch scenes from the Daredevil episode.
That was the best episode by far.
Just because Daredevil was there.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the best episode by far.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been a little bit more like, I'll watch those things when I get to it. I'm not logged into Disney Plus right now, so I haven't been watching it. And I've also just been like, well, it's She-Hulk.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care.
I really just watch everything because I watch it with my dad.
Right.
It's like I've become like a thing now. We just like go downstairs every week and watch it and discuss the episode. So I've been enjoying it for that aspect, but otherwise, it's
chill. Yeah.
That makes sense.
It was not a good show in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll watch it eventually. I also haven't watched the Werewolf by Night stuff either. Like I'm just not logged in.
I haven't watched that yet either. Yeah, I haven't watched Werewolf by Night yet either.
I don't know. I don't feel like logging back in. Also, like it's gonna. It logged me out because I moved over here, so I'm like I need to get access to it again. But I'm like,
wait, like, you're still paying for it, but you don't get access to it because you're on the West Coast now?
No, I don't pay for it. It's my uncle's.
Oh,
Okay. But I'm also like I don't care enough to, ask again for it. So because I'm like it's not a show about the Hulk, so.
Yeah, the Hulk.
It's not about the Hulk.
The last episode.
Yeah,
that's it. First and the last episode.
Yeah. Anyway, that's just my thoughts on it. I'm also like I'm not super excited about a lot of things right now for that, so we'll see what happens.
Definitely been pretty mid this phase, if I say so myself.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Larkin. I'm sorry, you're kind of out of your depth now because you don't know anything about this.
Alex, you just got here. We gotta get some Alex playtime. On the cast. So
yeah, I mean, last year had like 2 good movies, like Shang-Chi and Spider-Man, obviously, and then this year I think the shows were better, but like. What movies came out this year? Like Moon Knight and Miss Marvel I really liked. But apart from that,
the movies have just been mid at best.
Yeah.
Like I say, Doctor Strange in the multiverse of midness.
The biggest letdown in Marvel history to me, I feel like, is that movie.
Yeah, I don't know. It was definitely it was just missing like that something. I don't know what it was. Like it was cool, but at the same time, it felt like it was missing something.
Maybe more than 2 universes in the multiverse of madness. That would have been nice.
Yeah, probably.
There's as many universes pretty much that are consistently shown as the Spider-Man movie, but that's like in terms of colliding universes. So I don't know. Like anyway. Yeah, I just let's not talk about this. I could talk about this for like 10 years, but yeah. Let's talk about this is kind of awkward because I'm like, backtrack to the questions that I had earlier, but
right.
Okay, rapid fire.
Why are you here? Why do you want to be in the podcast? Like, what made you say yes? Stuff like that.
What made me say yes? I don't know. I just thought it'd be interesting to get on here and learn about new people. Obviously, talk to Albert more. Since he's on the West Coast, I'm not going to see him as much. I like talking to my boy Albert.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck yeah. Let's go.
Like Larkin seems cool. Meeting people is nice.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just here to chill.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. And we kind of had a situation, like what we were talking about was mostly the opportunity to talk to friends that we wouldn't otherwise talk to.
Yeah.
Right. And I think also partially like reconnecting with people as well is very cool. And then the third thing that we kind of mentioned was like asking more than surface level questions, which is something that I've always been interested in. Is talking about things beyond just like, let's talk about like this thing that's happening, or like let's just catch up, right? Stuff like that. But like, who are you? Like, what are values that you have? Like, what are like more introspective questions every now and again, and kind of trying to balance those things together and kind of having like a mix of just like a fun conversation, but also having better insights into the people that you know. Which I think is just very, very cool to have that opportunity. So I'm excited for that. But yeah.
I was just gonna say, now we got the 3 of us here. Still haven't settled on a name.
Yes, we're back to this.
Have any interesting ideas? I know. I should also know we are coming on 2 hours, Albert. I don't know what time frame you're looking at here for reasonable podcast length, but
right.
We're probably pushing close to maximum viewer capacity, but yeah, we should definitely settle on a name either way.
Yeah, that is definitely true.
Yeah.
I was thinking a maximum possible time would be 3 hours, like absolute max.
Absolute upper limit. Yeah, I agree.
I would say
that makes sense.
I would say closer. I mean, we can go a little bit longer right now, just because Alex, you just got here. But I would say maybe maximum like another 30 minutes or so before we step out.
I think that sounds very reasonable.
Yeah. But yeah, that is definitely something that we were talking about. We don't really have a good name right now. We kind of settled.
We did have some ideas. I mean, well, not some literal ideas, but we had some ideas about what the feel should be.
Yeah.
Because we were discussing, do we want to make it something more lively, something a little bit more casual? Do we want to capture that deeper conversation? Where's the balance there? Also, we were discussing, Albert brought up the point, like, if somebody randomly searches for like some like vague term, like let's chat or some shit, I don't know, then we might come up. But it's also, if we do a vague something more vague like that, then maybe it's a little bit less memorable. It's it's not as attuned to
it's about striking that balance.
Yeah. So we got it's like some
something
balance.
that's simple but catchy.
Simple but catchy. Literally, you took the words out of my mouth.
The Albcast.
Dude, Albcast was popping out. I don't know.
Albcast does go pretty hard.
It rolls off the tongue. I'm just saying. I'm not hearing much enthusiasm from over here, but actually, I'm not sure how we're positioned.
Where we're all
situated. He's down here. He's below me.
Yeah.
I'm also down here on my screen too.
Oh well.
So we're above you.
Yeah. Yes, you are. You are in this particular context.
I don't know, Albert. It seems like everybody but you is on board for the Albcast. I don't know.
I mean, we can do that. No. Like, I don't have any issues with that name. I
was joking. Just to be clear.
Okay.
I was joking. But I'm just. It's an option.
I don't know. Like,
it's a fallback option.
It's our response to Impulsive.
Yeah.
With Logan Paul. Instead of that, it's just podcast and replacing
the Outcast with Albert.
Yep.
You have Impulsive with Logan Paul and the Outcast with Albert Thomas.
The Albcast with Albert Thomas. It rolls off the tongue. I mean, Oh my god. All right. Well, I don't know. Maybe food for thought, but yeah. Maybe we'll have to do a little
more thinking about it, but
yeah. Post pod discussion on the matter.
I think like the names that I'd thrown out there were more like they just kind of they're like just terms. They're like, this is what we're doing. We're chatting. We're
just chatting.
Yeah, like stuff like that. And I'm like,
it's like a flat soda.
Yeah,
like. The soda might still taste good, but it's not what you want.
Right. It's not. Exactly. It's not like an eye popping or a catching name.
No. Yeah.
I don't know. Do you want to?
I know the Outcast is pretty catchy.
Just saying.
If we don't have anything else, we will go with the Outcast for now.
Okay.
I think that's fine.
It's the backup option.
Yeah, that'll be the backup option. So if you guys see this and it's entitled The Outcast, you'll know we didn't come up with anything else.
This is also like a very scuffed like pilot episode. This should be like episode 0,
Yeah, I mean, probably, yeah. Consider like we don't have an actual guest today, so I think that's kind of true.
No actual guest. Alex is here like an hour and a half deep. Like we took like 15 like the first 20 minutes I was like eating my sandwich. Like
that is true.
Super scuffed. No, I like it though. I like it. It's chill,
Yeah.
Makes it feel genuine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Next time, set more alarms, or sleep earlier.
Yes.
Please.
Or just don't sleep at all. I mean, just stay up.
Yeah, just stay up.
I mean, when I did see the clock starting to get close to 7 a.m., I was considering it.
I was considering
it.
Maybe just get some amphetamines. I guess.
I
don't know.
Like, I'm tired. I'll just set an alarm, and then we see how well that went.
Yeah. No, it's rough, dude. It's rough. The gamer life really hits the sleep schedule, bro. Like,
oh, it really does.
It's
really
so easy.
Bad.
It's so easy to go 3, 4, 5 a.m. Like
That's
Yeah,
why
I am, I guess.
that's why I like,
like
being
last
on
night,
this coast.
I got off with my friends at like 7 a.m.
Mhm.
and I fell into then I checked Reddit, and then Reddit led to like a YouTube rabbit hole. Like, you ever see like those white guy speaks Chinese videos?
Oh
I
yes,
know
I
who
have.
you're- I
Yeah,
know who
yeah,
you're
yeah.
talking about.
I fell into a bad rabbit hole where white guy speaks Chinese.
It's just like the guy who like
He goes to Chinatown?
goes and like gets his nails done or whatever, like in
Yes.
Chinatown. Yeah,
I saw there was a post on Reddit about that, and then someone linked like one of his videos where he like went to like, because you know Brooklyn has a lot of like Orthodox like Jewish people,
Mhm.
where he went
Right,
there
right,
and like he was speaking Yiddish. And I was like, it was like 6 in the morning. I was like, I gotta see this.
Uh-huh.
Then I wound up
that's
this like,
sick.
and then he was like, oh, then he goes to like Ghana Fest and speaks, you know, Twee to everybody. And I was like, well, I gotta see that. And the next thing I knew, it was like 7 in the morning.
Dude, those
Fell down
videos
a
are
bad
so
YouTube rabbit
cool.
hole.
Oh my
Yeah,
god.
it's just so interesting.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah,
interesting
yeah.
just how like the second you just speak like like someone's native language like that, they're immediately just like they just like light up.
They perk
That's
up.
what I was,
Light up. Yeah,
really getting out of it.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes them like
No,
so
it's
happy
awesome.
just to hear someone learning, you know, I guess like about their language and culture.
Mhm.
Right.
And meanwhile, I'm a dumb American who only can speak English.
Yeah.
You don't know you don't know Italian?
No, I don't know Italian.
Do your parents
I don't know a
not speak
single word in
Italian?
Italian?
Nope, my mom does not speak Italian.
Oh.
She always tells you the only thing she knows how to say are green and snow in
Okay.
Italian. That's all she knows.
Uh-huh.
Those are the 2 words.
The
I don't know
only
any Italian words.
I know some Malayalam, which is my actual, like, my state's tongue, but in Hindi,
right.
I know one word, and that's prem, because it means love, and that's because one actor, he always used to get that as his name, and I asked my mom what it meant at one point, so I know that it means love. But that's it. Yeah.
All right. Pretty much fluent. Yeah. Yeah.
I definitely know more Spanish than Hindi, which is interesting.
I took Spanish in school 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade. I cannot even. I could probably only give you say "Hola, cómo estás," and that's it.
Hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Albert.
Me llamo Alex.
Yeah.
Or if I was still in Spanish class, they would make me call myself Alejandro, even though my name is just that.
Wait, what?
Like Alexander.
Alejandro.
They would like force everybody to go they would give everybody like Spanish names.
Mm-hmm.
So I would Alex became Alejandro.
That's
so I had to be like Me llamo Alejandro. Even though it's not my name. I would just say Me llamo Alex.
Right. Yeah. We were talking about this earlier. I've been trying to learn Spanish. I also did Spanish in high school, but then I dropped it for a couple of years, and then I started doing Duolingo again. And yeah, man, learning a foreign language is too difficult. Like, this shit needs to get easier. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
like,
it is.
It's
you know, like every now and then, like
like,
it would be cool to learn something, but then I'm like, no, that's too much work.
Well,
it's remarkable how difficult it is, like, if you don't grow up speaking the language.
Mhm.
Like, even people who come to America, like fluent English speakers, right? I have a lot of like coworkers who are fluent English speakers, right?
Yeah.
You cannot tell the difference, but even they say, like, yeah, like, there is just some like small like aspects of like the language that are just like nearly impossible to pick up, like small idioms and things like this, like the way people pronounce things. Like it's interesting, like what they pick up. Like, we as Americans sometimes will make small grammar mistakes that we think of as very natural and don't recognize as mistakes because everyone does it.
Yeah.
Right. But someone, immigrating from China who like is learning the language sees this and gets very confused because we're making these mistakes. I'm trying to think. I can't think of an example off the top of my head, but like,
I mean, it's the distinction between slang versus the proper language, right?
Right. Or even we'll skip sometimes we skip a word, or we skip half the pronunciation of a certain word. It's just interesting, and that can be very, very confusing, right? And I've had this problem. Like, I've tried to listen to like Spanish YouTubers, for example, that try to learn a bit of the language, and it's so difficult because not only do they speak very quickly, but when they pronounce a word, they pronounce like 60% of the word. And every Spanish speaker will know exactly what they're saying every time, but I just cannot pick it up without subtitles. Yeah. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
that is definitely the difficulty, because it's like you can't have grown up in every language, like you can't have grown up in every language and every culture at the same time, right? Because the culture is very much ingrained into the way people speak the language as well. But like, for example, like I believe South American Spanish is very different from like Spain Spanish, right?
Quite a few differences.
Yeah, and that is a huge difference. Maybe not on the language sense, but the cultural sense, right? Because there are different pronunciations. I don't know if there are any actual different rules in terms of grammar. I wouldn't know.
From middle school and high school Spanish is that I think in Spain they use vosotros.
Yeah,
but they don't do that in like like Latin and Southern America.
Right.
They don't use vosotros. They would just go like ustedes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's like the one thing I remember from 6 years of Spanish.
Right.
That Spain they use vosotros.
Yeah, and then if I believe India is probably a very good example, where it's like there are many words that are only used in local regions of India, where it's like if you go over to a different region, like they wouldn't know, even if it's the same language, they wouldn't know those words because they just don't use those same words for different things. And so it's very interesting because like you can learn the quote unquote proper version of the language, but even then it's like if you ask the people who actually grew up in that language, they might disagree with what those things are. Like they might just be like, what are you talking about? Like that's not how you actually talk. So it's fascinating because it's like even if you are a polyglot and you know like 15 different languages, that doesn't necessarily translate directly to being able to converse with people fluently in all those languages. Yeah, it's intriguing.
That's why that white guy speaks Chinese was interesting too.
Yeah,
like, he didn't just learn like Mandarin. He learned like Mandarin and like a bunch of different subsets of Mandarin.
Right.
Which I didn't even know existed. Like obviously you have Mandarin and Cantonese. Those are like the two big ones.
Yeah.
He was also talking like with like Fugonese or something, and I was like, I never even heard of that.
Right.
Apparently another. It's only like a dialect that's in like one. Like one spot of China.
Right.
And he could speak it like fluently. And it's like wow. Like, who knew all this? It just existed. All I know is English and 5 words Spanish.
Right. And I think it makes sense when you even just look at the U.S. Maybe it's not as prevalent because English is so widespread. Like it's the biggest language in the world, right? Yeah. But even then, like if you go to different parts of the country, right? People have different terminology and ways of speaking. Even like maybe their diction or vernacular, but also
pop. Like some people.
I was just gonna say that example. Yeah, pop. Who says that? That's ridiculous.
What did I say? Like some people call like a sub sandwich like a hoagie.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Stuff like that.
Yeah, and even then, there's also like the emergence of. Like there's the different words and terminology, but then there's also the emergence of new words just through pop culture, right? And for example, like we might learn words like.
Oh, I mean, great example right now. We were just calling a bunch of things mid.
Oh
like,
yeah.
I feel like 6 months ago, I never heard that terminology. Right.
Yeah.
Never heard that. I don't know where it came from. Who spawned that into our collective?
Right.
How it always works.
But
well, like hear someone say the term, and I'm like, that's stupid. I'm never gonna say that.
Right.
And then more people start saying.
2 weeks later, it's over.
You just start saying mid all day.
Ironically, I started using it ironically, like a joke. Like, look at this idiot.
Yep.
And then by that, and then like a couple weeks later, it's just like, I just say it all the time.
Right.
Like completely unironically.
Yeah. But like, for example, like if you said that word to your mom, right, or your dad, they might not know what you're saying right away. They'd be like, those aren't words. What are you talking about? And then you even further remove it, right? Say you're from let's say China, for example, right? And you take an English class in China, so and you're really good too, right? So you know all these, like you're very good with the vocabulary. You come to the U.S. and someone says that something's mid, you're like, what the hell does that? The hell does that mean? That's not a word.
No, it's true. Yeah, it's very. It also is interesting. I mean, maybe I just haven't thought about it enough, but I never hear these like new words like mid or
Mhm.
whatever else is popular these
Bussin'.
days. Yeah, sure, yeah.
You don't know bussin'?
Oh, bussin'. Oh, I was like bust.
Oh, bussin'. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Bussin'.
bussin'.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah. You never hear these phrases come from like the like older adult population, right?
No, never.
I mean, it's always
Well, because they're not driving culture.
right. It's always like the 14-year-olds, and then it moves up the ladder,
Yeah.
Moves up, yeah.
Yeah. Like as soon as your grandma starts saying something's mid, like it's out of style, Like,
Yeah.
like,
It's like when our grandparents went on
We might be
Facebook,
starting at that point already. Like
Yeah,
we're hitting
yeah.
like 23 here. It might be some 14-year-old down the street hears me say
Yo.
something's mid.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
what is this old guy doing saying that's mid?
That's it. That's
Not
chop,
cool
chop,
anymore.
I've seen those TikToks where people have been like, what's your birthday? Or like, when were you born? And then you start with 19 and they're like, 19? Your birthday starts with 19? What?
Oh my
And
God.
like I've seen those TikToks and I'm like,
I can only feel so old.
yeah, exactly. It's like, bro, I'm 99. What are you talking about? It's the very end. But
I'm approaching 23 and a half here.
Oh
Yeah.
man.
23 and a
man.
half. I'm not even 23 yet. Are you? Wait.
The half. November 19th is the half birthday. That's 6 months after May.
Oh, right.
Yeah. We're getting there.
Yeah. November 19th I'd be 23 and a half.
See, Albert, you're still young.
Yeah,
Young and carefree.
I'm
You
a
got your whole
young
life ahead
person.
of you, Albert.
Us old men, we're getting our canes.
Let me tell you, Albert, it doesn't get any better once you hit 23 and a half.
Oh man.
Well, I got another
start
like
aching,
8 months,
Yeah. You got some time.
Or actually, not even 8 months. It'd be 6 months. Yeah, because my birthday's this month. So.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. We'll get there one day. One day we'll be the old grannies.
Yeah, they'll be like, why are you saying dank? That's so old.
Oh my god, yeah. Where did
Dank is already old.
I don't know.
That is true. That is true. That's kind of old. That's like
Dank
high.
is old, but
It's like back
I
in
thought,
high
we were
school.
gonna go, I thought we were gonna go back to mid, but then Albert just pulls out dank like
Dank, dude.
2012.
Dude, Dank was a classic. Dank,
It was.
Dank had some
It was.
longevity
It was.
too,
Yeah,
Dank is a good word.
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah. We should bring it back. Revival.
Uh-huh.
Should revive an old slang term. Every podcast.
It's retro now,
Retro?
The
Yeah.
dank Albcast. That's how we
The
bring it back. Put it in the title.
Dankcast. There we go.
No,
Dank
we
Albcast.
we can't put dank in this one.
No.
We can't. Alex, for
Oh my
context, dank was in the title for Larkin's old podcast from
Oh man, it
5
was
years
so
ago.
from high school.
Yeah.
Don't dig it up. Good God.
Oh, I'm gonna have to now. What was it called? What, Albert, can you
No.
put
Well,
the title
we've
on?
already decided that we're not saying it on the cast.
Albert can link you.
I'll send it
Oh,
to you
man.
personally.
Oh man.
All right, that
Anyway,
sounds good.
Yeah.
it was classic. It was a classic. Absolute all-time banger. Anyway. Yeah, so I guess we probably should start to wrap up here.
Yeah.
But I guess
Yeah.
we don't have a good title, so we'll we'll
think
see
about
how that
it.
evolves.
We'll talk about it. Yeah, I'm glad you were able to make it, Alex, even though it wasn't
Yeah,
for...
I woke up just in time to make it for the
Just in
end.
time.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
in time, yeah.
I guess moving forward, I guess to start, we'll figure out who's going to go next, right? Or if you guys are both available. Like, if it happens to be that you're both available, we could have like 4 people in the call. I don't think that will really matter. But we'll just see and play it by ear on that front. If not, we'll just do groups of 2 or whatever. And if someone ends up being available later on down the line, we'll just add them in. It'll be more based off of like when people are free.
Week by week, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
It's good. This is a good time for me though, guys.
Okay.
If this
It'd be a
works
good
for
time
y'all,
If you woke up.
yeah.
Alrighty. Yeah, thanks for coming, everyone. And I just hopefully this will be a very long-lasting podcast. We'll see how it goes, and I'm sure there'll be kinks along the way, but we'll figure it out. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we will see you next time.
Goodbye.
Later. Bye.
Bye.